own terms. So it was created here in Philadelphia. One of its founders is Malefikete Asante, who's no longer involved with the organization, and Dr. Amma Mazama. Since Dr. Asante left a few years ago, it has maybe more of a foothold internationally in places like in the DR Congo, in the island of Guadeloupe in the Caribbean, as well as in Brazil. They have conferences year round. They do a lot of work on trying to have the revolution within our own minds, right? We're trying to decolonize ourselves, to realign ourselves and relocate ourselves within the parameters of what it means to be African people, right, on African terms. So that's Afrocentricity International. It's a newer organization compared to organizations like ASCAC and Cobra, or even the Republic of New Africa, but they're very much involved, and they do reorientation programs, not unlike some of these other organizations that we have experience with in the past. They have a website, an online presence. You just type in Afrocentricity International, and you should be able to find some information about them. Like I said, they're a little bit more involved in the international scene, especially in the Francophone world at this point, but they still have some information in English.
All right, all right. Give thanks, give thanks. Much appreciated. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being with us. Dr. Tarik also will be one of our keynote speakers for this afternoon/evening. So we look forward to your presentation with that as well. All right, with that being said, I want to give a brief introduction of myself. Thank you for being with us. I'm Rebel Lumumba Uncaged. I'll be one of your hosts for this evening, as well as dealing with admin as it pertains to the Zoom and the Facebook Lives. So I'll be wearing multiple hats this afternoon/evening. Looks like we have Baba Yao rejoining us. So I want to thank you once again. Give thanks to the ancestors and the elders, those who have shed blood, sweat, and tears, paved the way to allow us to be here today. I want to give thanks to the Most High Creator. On this day of KUUMBA Creativity, okay, and this program, we are introducing several different initiatives. The to the room. The theme for this event: Black love, Black justice, Black business, and we have ancestors. All right, with the ceremony of the Kwanzaa candle lighting. Okay, we're going to have some Black community, Black Philly history storytelling. All right, we're going to have a jam session. Okay, we're going to be dealing with the African diasporic marketplace and Black goods and services showcase. Real Black community independent institution and building development reparations. Okay, R4J, an independent commission task force. And we're also going to be discussing gentrification and Black ethnic cleansing, Black political education and accountability. All right, this is a production brought to you by the National Million Women March and Universal Movements, a Million Black Women Rising Federation, the Mighty Maatic Men of Valor Action Network, the Kwanzaa Associates Inc., Philly, Black Communities United, Global AFCON Veterans, the Black Land Community and Homes Reclamation Alliance, and the United Black Business Association in cooperation with the Nile Café. Nile Café is the oldest vegan restaurant eatery in the city. So definitely want to give thanks and pay tribute and homage to the individuals at the Nile Cafe. All right, give thanks. So, we want to make sure that we're not only going over these principles of the Nguzo Saba, but actually applying them in real life in real time. All right. So these principles, they're celebrated and highlighted during the period and time of Kwanzaa, but these are principles of a lifestyle we should be living on a daily and consistent basis, and also practicing 365 days a year. All right, 24/7. So give thanks to that. We did have a couple of additional people come into the Zoom room. All right. With that being said, I want to circle back around to Sister Leslie. Okay. Hopefully we're able to get the audio together with Sister Leslie. If you can introduce yourself, let everyone know where you're calling in from, any group, entity, or organization you might be representing, and any gift, talents, or abilities that you wish to share with the collective. Give thanks. Sister Leslie, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry for my voice. I'm not feeling well. My name is Leslie Webb, and I'm calling in from the Virgin Islands.
All right. Any group, entity, or organization that you wish to highlight or you're representing, and any gifts, talents, or abilities that you wish to share with the collective.
Not really. I belong to the Ivane Galba Breast Cancer Organization because I'm a survivor.
All right. All right. Give thanks. Give thanks. Much appreciated. Okay. Can you tell us where you're calling in from again?
The Virgin Islands.
Virgin Islands. All right. Give thanks. Much appreciated. All right. Okay, family. Okay, looks like okay, yeah, we do have Baba Yao back in the building. Okay, Baba Yao, I did want to come to the live audience. If you could begin to do a round robin. If you want to, you can start with yourself, introducing yourself, let everyone know where you're from, any group, entity, organization representing, and any gift, talents, or abilities that you wish to share. And then you can pass the mic to the next individual, let them introduce themselves. All right, give thanks.
You off mute. Is my turn?
Yes, sir. So what you're gonna be doing is introducing yourself. Let everyone know where you're from, any group, entity, or organization you might be representing, and any gifts, talents, or abilities that you wish to share with the collective.
Yes, yes. I'm Baba Yao. Well, my grandmother named me Craig, but I named myself Self-Determination. I'm Baba Yao, the African Cuban plumber. And the reason I say it like that, I'm an African first, and my closest connection to African, I would say, is Cuba. And I was born and raised in Philadelphia. I've been to D.C. when it was the original chocolate city 42 years ago. I don't know what it is now. They started talking about it's gonna redevelop and redevelopment for black man. Anyway, and when a white man talking about redevelopment, that means your ass is gone. Because you weren't at the table when they decided. So I've been in DC 40-something years. I run a foundation, started in 1997 called Kwanzaa Associates Inc. Foundation. It is about mobility. And then after that, and I got it, the seed was planted by Baba Zulu, the oldest African independent school in the nation, 55 years ago. So he named me Baba Yao, and they called me an elder, but officially I'll be elder February the 5th, 1923, 24. So to say all that I'm an African, I live Kwanzaa 360, and currently I'm visually impaired, so I see a little bit out of the left eye. You lying. Yeah, well, I'm not, well, no, he's not lying. Yeah, I'm not lying. We can't. I know, everybody can't talk. Everybody can't talk if I'm talking. I'm talking to describe myself. So I'm an African Cuban plumber. I'm here to win it, and I live Kwanzaa 360. And when I named the Kwanzaa Associates Foundation, I didn't know that I get called for Kwanzaa programs all the time. They said, "Did you invent Kwanzaa?" I said, "Well, I did, but I didn't." And so I'm in workforce development. I've been teaching plumber 45 years. I've been looking at my third eye, teaching it for 25 years, but I didn't know I would have to live it. I got a little vision in my left eye, my right eye, no vision, no peripheral vision. And I live Kwanzaa. And I run the foundation, and it's about mobility. I had assisted people, countries, nations like Cuba, took plumbers into Cuba, met sister, good friend of mine, he did Eyes of a Rainbow, that's Roy Orlando. I mean, that's a Size of Cool video. So all of them are my personal friends when I get into Cuba. So for me, Cuba is the closest thing to Africa. And I want to get recharged. I can't go 3,000 miles to Africa. I go 30 miles outside Miami and get into Cuba. And now I don't know if it's for me forget what I was supposed to be saying, but that's enough out of me. I'm on the phone. Everybody trying to coach me. When they can introduce themselves, they want after me. And that's all I'm gonna say. And I'm gonna listen. And who's next?
All right. Give thanks, Baba Yao. Thank you for that introduction. Yes, if you could just pass the microphone to the next guest and allow them to introduce themselves, let everyone know where they're calling from, any group, any organization that they're representing, and any gift, talents, or abilities they wish to share.
Okay, it's the New World Warrior. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Name is New World Warrior. I'm a divine universal African. I'm simply one with all God creates. It's not possible.
All right. Peace and love out everything.
What's that?
No, my apologies. You're good, Baba.
Okay. As I was saying, it's not possible for me to be better than you because I am but an extension of you. Good, bad, otherwise, day, night, weekend, all the time. We are one. Anyway, I teach ancient African history, culture, studies, math, and science through music, theater, and poetry because the average brother won't read a book. So the goal is to get the knowledge to them the simplest way possible is to read it for them. And I'll give it back to you musically, theatrically, poetically. We have so much fun making you a genius. You won't know how the heck you got there, but does it matter? So anyway, uh, pretty much a lifelong member as a Black Panther since I was 11 years old and saw Martin Luther King killed right in front of me. And I asked the grown people who were members of SNCC and SCLC and all the other organizations, I said, now how the hell is it if you his friend, before his body hit the ground, that you all didn't pick up his race, pick that baton up and finish running this race like baby kids. Don't let him die, make him multiply. I started way back then, and they still haven't figured it out yet. But if you love the brothers and sisters like Baba Oduno, who we celebrated last night, if you love them, you remember their names and you carry on their works. Is this not what we've been taught? Ancestrally, practice your way, live your life, show them who we are by how we live our lives. I hope I'm not talking crazy, y'all, but this is the fact. This is our responsibility. It's not just rhetoric I'm speaking, this is the way we are supposed to live. We're supposed to show the world what righteousness is and how to not only love, live, but fulfill and maintain Maat. So, as I was saying, I teach these classes to our people in hopes that we will wake up and do the work that's necessary that only we can and must do if this planet doesn't become a better place, if this world doesn't become a better place. We are the only people who can do it. So, as I was saying, New World Warrior, been a member of the Panthers since I was 11 years old, also part of We Charge Genocide, the Million Woman World Movement, the UNIA, and anything else that's pro-black, because I am as well. In the words of I heard the new Ghanaian president say, and I'll quote, he said, I'm not pro-European nor anti-European. I'm not pro-Asian nor anti-Asian. I'm not pro-French. I'm not anti-French. I am pro African. Read my lips. I am pro-African. Don't mince my words. Don't put no words in my mouth. And while I got your attention, get the hell out of our country. Now, moving right along. So that's my position. Those are the things that are dear to my heart. And while I may, if you don't mind, I'd like to add in a shameless plug. They ask the world to help us help Brendan Dept in Coastal Springs, Florida. I think it is right now. He's being held in Jacksonville, Florida. He's 18 years old, and being held or actually prosecuted or persecuted as a sacrificial lamb for a bunch of European parasites who, instead of giving him an education, they gave him a PlayStation, pushed his buttons, victimized him, took total advantage of him psychologically, mentally, physically, spiritually, in every other way they could, got all the money they could out of him. Now they want to use him as a living manifestation to the school to prison pipeline. They finished exploiting cash out of him through the education system. He's opted out or optioned out of the adoption system. Now they want to transfer him to the PIC, the prison industrial complex, which we should not or never allow ever again for any black child. This is as wrong can be. If you don't see this, your God ain't crap, and neither are you. You cannot stand back and watch this child be destroyed like this as a sacrificial lamb. Your Bible says, as you have done to the least of these, you have also done unto me. So do not let this child go down the drain. I'm depending on you. He's depending on you. I know y'all ain't gonna do much of nothing. So if you send money to me on my Zelle, just use my phone number, 347-621-9324, and send money to me so I can use it for transportation. Your money will not be misused or abused, or misused, if you will. I need help with this because I am a homeless veteran, but I'm willing to sacrifice whatever's necessary to help save this child. Some of y'all ought to sacrifice something instead of buying all the expensive tennis shoes and you can't play no damn ball. Anyway, moving right along. As I said, this is New World Warrior, and I hope to be doing your libation pretty soon here.
What about Lamar Johnson? What do you want him to do?
Keep on doing what he's doing.
I mean, as far as leading the way,
If you honor his word and do what he said and take the lead, if he'll do the heavy work and get in there and get to the child and do the assessment, I'll know how severe his reality situation is. And I guarantee you, I will be able to do more with that child in 1 year than they did in 16. Bet money on that. I'll stake my life on that. So if Dr. Umar will just give me a call at that number I gave, 347-621-9324, and touch base with me, let me know how we can coordinate our efforts so we can get down here and help this child as much as possible, as soon as possible. Now I'm gonna shut up and let you all progress with the rest of this wonderful KUUMBA celebration in honor of Kwanzaa.
Let them know we're here to meet with some lawyers to see if they're gonna be by Umar's side. This is international lawyers. We're in Washington, D.C.
All right, and these are things we need as well. We need attorneys to advise us legally on how to proceed this case so we can go ahead and not just win the case, but turn the heat up on them high enough to where they'll stop trying to persecute this child, thinking that they can just do it without repercussions. So these are things that need to be said and done. It works. I'm sorry, y'all didn't hear that.
All right. Give thanks. Much appreciated.
Medical victory. So, thank you all. God bless and Hotep. Okay.
All right, give thanks.
Colonial Queen Mother here. She's going to introduce herself.
All right, give thanks.
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Kwanzaa. I'm Lene Spicer, and I'm on the board of Kwanzaa Associates. I support all Black women and men, but specifically, I'm a female warrior and been fighting the good fight for almost 70 years.
Go for it.
And, you know, I'm also a realtor entrepreneur, and I'm just here to celebrate with everyone. Thank you.
What we should do?
You what?
What should we do?
Put the mute on the speaker. The room is like until.
All right, give thanks for the introduction. KUUMBA.
Give thanks for Tyehimba. All right, we are getting ready to begin, and unfortunately, the person who is doing libation is stuck in DC, so we have to bring him in via Zoom, which we're gonna wait until we can actually get our Zoom up. But then
as the oldest civilization in the history of Homo sapiens sapiens, what we call the Nile Valley, and all of modern day Egypt, and over 80% of modern day Sudan. And we talk about the unification that creates the world's first super state, nation or country, Kemet, land of the back, formulated by many, who some call Narmer. And in the Meduneter, in the writing, in the artwork, we see percussion instruments that we would say today are drums. So while we give props to the Mali Empire, Mansa Musa, Abubakar, and all those things, it is important to know that in the Nile Valley, what we call the Nile Valley, just like we see the origin of cosmology and theology and ideas about life and death and birth and family, and we find philosophy that we talk about, that eventually when other people came in and tried to transform them all the time erroneously into religions, but in those documents we find percussion and instruments, and particularly the drum. Her evolution to what we call Mali, but her origin is in the sacred womb of Maat. It is important to understand that origin. And just like any other human being, you take with you those elements, but most importantly, those memories wherever you go, voluntarily or involuntarily. And so your ideas and philosophies about family, hunting, the way that you raise food for sustenance, the way that you honor life and death and creation, these are things that the Africans took all across the world. But she also took the drum and the instrument. So that's why, as we can trace back the drum and percussion to the Nile Valley, what they call Kemet, Nubia, and all that, is the same way that we create the various cosmologies, theology. All of them are rooted in that part of the world that is what we call Nile Valley as the rhythm. Now, of course, as we know with the Nile Valley, we had foreigners that came into that area, and they have influence. Just as today, many of these particular instruments, if you were to go to a variety of stores in the contemporary world, you will see offshoots of the djembe, and you will find them made with a variety of different materials. Because oftentimes the original or early materials were not available. So the first principle that represents the drum in our history is the motion, unity. And so when you go to Matapata or the Zimbabwe area or Azania, the South African region, the Angola in the southwest part of Namibia, or you're in the heart in the Congo, maybe you're all the way on the east with Burundi or Rwanda, or maybe you're on the west at the Gambia, Sierra Leone, Ghana, you will find a variety of variation. But what Kwanzaa says, first principle is what? Unity. And it is the drum and many of our rhythms that will capture the imagination and particularly the soul of the ancestors through the rhythms. And you will find that the rhythms of what we today call Ghana that you may find in Ethiopia. Now, we talk about the involuntary and voluntary movement of Africans in particular across the Atlantic. Movement into places like what today we call South America, Central America, North America, and the Caribbean. And from those movements, voluntary and involuntary, comes a connection with a variety of people, but also a connection with a variety of life, plants, animals. And so the variety of wood that was available in the Palenques in Colombia is different, though related to the variety of woods and trees in the west coast of Africa, the east coast of Africa, the northern part of Africa. So these people had to make rhythmic instruments from what they had. But that rhythm is what kept people together. So even if you are today calling yourself a West Indian, a Guyanese, a Jamaican, a Bajan, a Trinidadian, even if you're conqueror or you're enslaver, spoke Spanish, and today you're calling yourself a Mexican, an Afro-Latinx, a Puerto Rican, a Dominican, a Venezuelan, that rhythm you still hear. Think about the genius of the evolution of us as a people, Africans, here in the diaspora, particularly the United States. Some people call us New Africans. Think about the evolution of the name, the monarchy that we used very early on in the 16th, 17th, and 18th century. We saw most of our institutions named Ethiopian or African. At the institution that I work at today called Cheney University of Pennsylvania. But her original name is the African Institute. You think about Richard Allen and use that name African. If you study the words of Edward Wilmot Blyden, if you study the words in the lecture of David Walker and Mark Delaney, you hear that term African. Even though we evolved, if you will, with other monarchies. Color, Negro, Black, African American, but it's the rhythm of the drum and our history. Even in the Caribbean, the genius of those Africans who were asked to mine sugar and cotton before the oil industry hit the Caribbean. And they had those steel buckets sitting in the Caribbean. And the genius of those Africans turned those into what we call steel pans today. So those of us that have visited the Caribbean, Barbados, and the Bahamas, all those places we enjoy cruising, and we hear those steel drums capture our imagination. Because even with the steel pan, it still can call those African ancestors within your lineage. Flana, mambo, salsa, merengue, tango, even the flamingo, those dances all respond to the African drum. The conga, the bongos, these are all their forerunners. The second part of Kwanzaa and how it connects to the history of the drum is the second day. Kuji Chakulia, self-determination. The Africans decided they were not going to go without the root of their existence, the drum. And so they created in the diaspora of the parts of the drum. Alan Genius, collective work and responsibility. Okay? Ujima. It became a family project. While the Zumbi talked about the father and him not having a son. Believe it or not, if you study carefully, we oftentimes associate continent, a very large continent. There are men, but there were also women drumming orchestras, and they were responsible for stringing and drumming, particularly those parts of Africa that were not under foreign influence, foreign religions that had ideas about the women. So collective work and responsibility was a big part of maintaining the drum culture, the rhythms, the called the ancestors. A lot of that was the work of our mothers, our great grandmothers, the mother, who assigned our system, particularly if the men were out to war, to continue making drums. Ujamaa, cooperative economics. We bartered in many parts of Africa, not in all parts of Africa, but in many parts of Africa. We created also economic systems, banks, especially in the Nile Valley, especially in Kenya. Don't think that the European and this banking system is unique. We find in the study through the Nile Valley similar systems, most of which are rooted before the Greeks and others came in. But the cooperative economics, the barter, the fairness, and believe it or not, drums were a big part of how you were to exchange. In many parts of Ghana, in Ghana, you know, Ghana stands for the Gold Coast. The gold was interwoven in many of the drums, whether it was the djembe, kikini, or my Ghanaian drum, the from. And they would trade those. So if you read about some of the explorations, particularly to Asia, from the Ghanaians, or the people that became the Akan, they not only traded in gold, but they traded in drums. The evolution. Nia, purpose. What is the purpose of this drum? Why did Baba Zumbi want this to be a part of purpose? To remind you of the purpose, because we live in a Western society, and it's their job, as they say it, to commercialize everything, including the music and especially the drum, so that the rhythms that you dance to, you shake to, don't have the same vibration to connect with your ancestors and the God himself. So the purpose of the drum, you have to ascertain yourself. You will not be able to extol her power if you can't connect it and call on your greater self. Because the groove on WDAS or whatever that may sound so great that you dancing, but you can't connect it to greater. So the drum does have a purpose. There's a fun purpose, certainly. There's an entertainment value, of course it is. But the drum, like many aspects of African culture, including blues, have a deeper purpose. Nia. KUUMBA. KUUMBA, creativity. Second, perhaps, to our clothing and our unique, as they call it today, swag. The drum may be one of the most visible ways of our recognition of KUUMBA creativity. And you will see, Baba, if you will stand up real quick one more time, because the drums are also a piece of art. And you can see the artwork in the drum of Baba Zumbi's drum. I know Brother Wasset, I bought 3 drums from him that he gets from the continent, and the drums that he has are the highest value in the parts of Africa that he gets them from. And there are like pieces of work. They're not just to be banged on and put pencil and hang on. These are pieces of work. If you can stand up, come over, and just raise your drum up in the air. The artwork, KUUMBA, the creativity within that drum is powerful. If you can go and grab my front and front, right in the front, and just hold it up in your one more time. The artwork. Art is not just what you hang in your home. What this does, you can put it down below, is you bring energy, positive energy into your home. I know many of us know this. Oftentimes we're preaching to the choir, and it's the reason why we adorn our home with positivity. And the drum is a piece of that. It's critical that if you don't have one, that you get one in your home. That you get one in your home. And you put it in a place that's visible so you can see it. She works, as we say in the contemporary time, the drum, whether you're playing it or having it. She's what I call the African ancestral router. She's the router. No matter where you're at in the house, she can pick up that vibration when you're not feeling well, you need that strength, whether or not you hear it or not, and she can bring wellness into your life. That drum. Have one in your home. Get what Brother Wise said, or any of the people here in the Nile Café, the Associates community, get yourself a drum. If you want to get a good gift for a family, male or female, that's the power of the drum. And you can have your children even design it, paint it with their creativity, and make it a part of the tradition of your family that you pass on. In my home, I probably have about 40 because I want that power in my home. KUUMBA, creativity, the power, the importance of the drum. As Sister Phila said, not just from the 26th to January 1st, but 365 all year long. And then last but certainly not least, as we celebrate Kwanzaa, is Imani, which we know is faith. There may not be another instrument that allows us to persist in our war for redemption and to bring about good things that come in the world like this drum. She is both a call to arms, the reality of war and battle, but she is also the most aspirational instrument in our arsenal. She calls the hope of tomorrow, of the princesses that Brother Wased and his queen have. They are our future, and nothing calls to protect them and our aspirations like the drum. We have many instruments, the balafon, the kora. We know all the antecedents to the fiddle and the violin and the bass and the piano. We know they all get their origins on the continent. You know, we have the shaker rays and we've got the bell, all of which are important parts of the ensemble. But the drum, her purpose is life. She births a people and she protects a people. Some of us are called drummers. It is our role in the war for redemption of African people. Oftentimes we watch the movies when we're kids growing up and we see the British or we see even the Chinese, we see their great army. But what do you see in the front line? Somebody playing instruments and percussion. We're no different. We just precede all of it. The drums are critical. Every birthday, every child when they get the transition to the realm of the ancestors. Even smaller celebratory situations like graduation, particularly here in the United States, where things like graduating from high school, middle school, elementary school, that's a given, but it's not if you're African. For you to graduate is a miracle when you think about all of the things that they're trying to do to get you out of your mind. It is that drum that keeps it going. So that when you're traveling, y'all know how this many of you travel outside the country and you go to Puerto Rico and all of a sudden you hear that drum and then you look at the so-called Latinx person, SmackDown. And all that American passport stuff goes in his head. Just like when you go from New York and you come to Philly, you get the Philly sound, New York sound. Some of you want to go down to the ATL, you want to hit the West Coast, to LA or Chicago, Midwest. Same people. Same people. So let me end my little soliloquy about the history of how it connects to Kwanzaa, because you can probably hear that beat in the background. And me and Brother Kamua, the urban shaman, we love this, we call it the Umoja Universal beat. Some of you who've been around the block know the season, you know this rhythm. Somehow she finds her way just about every song. R&B, hip hop, Motown, soul, calypso or soca. That little beat right there, you know what I'm saying? That beat right there. I don't care who you are, you can move on that beat. Okay? Oh yeah, you could be a Pentecostal, you could be a Presbyterian, Episcopalian, Anglican. Yeah, you can take yourself to the mosque, 5%, 2%, 3%, whatever. But this is gonna get you to move. Cause she's gonna pull you all the way back. All the way back. Where you're waving at something else. You're way down. Way down. You're so far down in Nubia, you don't know how far down in the Nile you are. This really right here. Whether you're in Argentina, whether you're amongst the Garfina and Honduras, in Guyana, whether you're speaking French, calling you Francais, or you're way down in Yanda country, in Mexico, whether you're in the hills, the maroons of Palmares in Brazil or Jamaica, this beat gets you to move. And as me and Kamua, we like to do sometimes when we're out, we like to remind people that this rhythm has survived all kinds of movements across the world. We found it, many of us as kids, we didn't know it, but it made us move when we was in church, when we was in the mosque. Sit still, boy. You can sit still with this one. It just makes you move. And so as I wrap up, we talk about the history. I want to remind everybody in the room of the Godfather of soul. Y'all heard of Godfather of soul, right? Who can tell me who the Godfather of soul is? James Brown, right? Made a living with the 4 and 4/4 and the hop. This one, this one, this is the one that woke us up. Y'all know this. We're going to take you high. Yeah. Am I right or am I right? how people get in them books. When you hear this, oh yeah, it make you write it down. Y'all stop playing with me. Y'all already know. You already know. So I'll end this with this little girl. I hope you have a good time. 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 Germantown and Tyehimba. We try to take you high. Yeah. Am I right or am I wrong? Right on, right. Don't forget, don't forget. That's what it does. My name is Brother. I'm a member of the Tyehimba, dancing drum and sound, the crowd member, and the history of the drum and the history of the river, and connected to our unique and amazing history and culture during this time in particular, Kwanzaa. And it's my honor to share that with you. Peace. All right, good thanks, good thanks. All right, give a round of applause for Tyehimba, Urban Shaman. All right, good thanks, much appreciated. Thank you all for being here once again. Thank you for your presence and your participation. All right, we want to have, hopefully, we have to come through our live stream. We got Brother New World. We got a couple people in our Zone world. We are streaming this virtually as well. So hopefully we can have Brother New World come in and give us some libation. Oh, okay, what, as 1 minute out there?
Right on. Before we have Brother New World to do libation, we want to pass this around to you, and it is today, of course, KUUMBA, creativity. So we are applying creativity to setting up some new kinds of things for Phila. One of them is going to be our African ancestral sacred spaces, places, and so forth. So what we're getting ready to do now, we have meetings coming up with city council people. We are literally saying to them as a part of reparatory justice, i.e. reparations, we want places in public location where we can go at any time to pay tribute to our ancestors. Malcolm X Park, Vernon Park, all of them throughout the city, and every part of the city should have a location dedicated to our ancestors. That way, whenever you're feeling down or lonely, or someone passed in your family, and you need to go and say a few words, light a candle, place flowers, you will have a designated location in your community where you can do that. This again is a part of our reparatory justice and tribute to our ancestors each and every day. We're also looking to make sure that we're able to plant some trees with naming our ancestors. Well, the first one that has been suggested is Papa Del Jones. So that Malcolm X Park we have a tree planted in honor of Baba Del Jones. So what this is now for you to do, and then pass it around, take one of these and on the back, put the name of an ancestor in Philadelphia. Then there's two categories. One is our community ancestors, particularly the ones that we call freedom fighters, like Baba Ashakamushi Shango, Baba Breathing Battles, Dr. Ed Robinson. So put the name on the back of these sheets. because I have a little basket. We're going to put the names in the basket. Because what we're beginning to do now is to record ancestors in Philly that we want remembered. Who's keeping our history, family, in the city? Where can you go to get information about history of Black folks in Philly? And I'm not talking about just the academia and I'm talking about Charlie Blue Barris. Y'all ever hear that name? I know you heard Dave Richardson, but there's so many. Brother Tarik that who've made transitions. How are we honoring those who have stood on these front lines for us? So we figured it out. We will have a listing that'll be officiated. You'll be able to look at it. It goes online. It'll be also in a form that lists the ancestors in Philadelphia that we want remembered. And again, you'll be able to go to different locations throughout the city that'll be ancestral, sacred spaces and places where you'll be able to sit, say a prayer, meditation, place a flower. If someone passes in your family, you might want to do something in a private location, just you, that's designated just for you. So that's what this is for. You can pass the whole sheet, whole thing around so they can have some part to write on if they don't have it. So again, on the back, there's two ways, two things. One, community/village ancestors. Two is your own personal family ancestors. Okay, so there's two categories. So that way we're honoring all of our ancestors, but we're being very specific. So before we bring in Brother New World Warrior, who is also a veteran, one of our We Charge Genocide platform issues focuses on Black veterans, justice for them. And more than likely, each one of you have an ancestor or someone that's present that was a Black veteran. And many of you are aware with some of the things that have happened to them. Many of them are homeless now. Some have mental issues. And so again, as we bring forward We Charge Genocide 21 in the spirit of creativity, we want to make sure that we bring issues into our Kwanzaa. It's a celebratory time, but at the same time, when we were coming up with Kwanzaa, it wasn't just about the festivity and the music. That was a lot of it, no doubt. But you were doing things as well. And so that's what we want to continue to represent. Our tradition, our history, our culture, but also the activism of our people. So with that said, we're going to get ready to bring in Brother New World. Brother Moon, can you grab me that book real quick before I do? Are there any veterans here? All right.
Yeah, here's one.
Okay. For those who are veterans,
Oh,
and a social plug for you. We have the book that we are giving to our veterans as part of our study group. Again, we talk about nation building, community building, family building. How do you do that? How do we create unity? We talk about the principles, but how are we implementing to make it happen? So for our veterans, we have for you, be it Navy, Army, Marines, Air Force, we have each unit for you that now can have brothers to talk to one another about some of the issues, some of the things that they need to talk about, particularly if they really were in Vietnam or in one of the other locations, some World War II, etc. They need to be able to talk to one another, but in our tradition, not the system. So this is a free book that has been made available to us to start kicking off what we're talking about for our Black veterans. And this again, as you can see, is half American. And it talks about particularly World War II and the Black veterans and what they had to go through. Because this again is what we need to teach our children so that they understand why we talk about reparations, i.e. preparatory justice. So again, Brother New World Warrior, are you ready? Can you hear him or can you see him?
Hold that, family.
Okay,
Hold that, family.
Okay, we have.
Hello.
All right, hold on, Brother New World.
Oh.
They got.
Hello.
Hey, give me 1 second, New World. I'm gonna get you the mic.
Okay, Brother. Oh, there he is. For you.
Hold that. Can you hear me now?
Okay,
Okay. Can you hear me now?
we can hear you.
You can? All
Yes,
right.
sir.
We would like to proceed with this libation. Yes? No?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me, good brother?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. I was asking, may I proceed with the libation now?
Yes, sir. You on?
All right. I can barely hear you all. We got some slight audio problems, but I'm gonna proceed and move forward here. I'd like to start off by saying Creator, Creatress, Mother, Father, God, ancestors. We'd like to invite and invoke the presence of our whole human family here today for this amazingly beautiful Kwanzaa celebration here going into 2024. And may we speak justice, walk in truth, and carry out those ways of righteousness so that our children can succeed and our ancestors will be proud of the work that they've done. So we thank them all for their contributions as well as their sacrifices, be they from the north, the south, the east, the west, the past, the present, and the future. We thank them and we call on their names as we pour libations, as I said, to the north, we pour it to the south, we pour it to the east, we pour it to the west for our ancestors past, whose names we can call, for those ancestors in the present, and those elders among us in the present, and for those wonderful, amazing children that we will give birth to who are yet to come, we pour for the future. And we'd like to call the names of some of those from our past. If you know them and you love them, call their names. We should not be ashamed of them because they paid the price for us. It's their illustrious shoulder that we presently stand on at this very moment that causes us to see what we see and be who we are and accomplish whatever we think we've accomplished. We could not and have never done anything alone. Were it not for those who paid the prices for us, none of this could and or would be. So we must be thankful in all times, in all things. So we thank them and we call their names. If you know their names, don't be ashamed of those like Hatshepsut, who built one of the first major universities in the world, which is still there today in Timbuktu. They say women have made no accomplishments. I don't know which women they talking about. Because African women have done it all. You name it, we've done it. Sorry, they've done it. I don't want to be taking credit for what the women have done because they have done it. And I ain't gonna say they did it without us, but I think they could because they give birth without our assistance in too many cases. So we call on the names of the Hatshepsuts, the Harriet Tubmans, the Sojourner Truths, and the Ida B. Wellses, and the Queen Mother Moores, and Queen Mother Jordans. And we call on all of those that we say we love, because this is how we maintain their presence in our present lives. We call their names and we continue their works in our daily lives. Therefore, they will live forever just as we. So we must learn to live a legacy, leave a legacy, and not a stain. So we call on the names of those who passed recently, Baba Oduno, and many others who have recently left us, who live and walk among us. If you know their names, don't be ashamed. Call the names of the ancestors that you just lost recently. And don't be afraid to call on the names of the children who will be born in the future. And we thank them all, as I said, for their contributions and their sacrifices, be they from the north, the south, the east, the west, the past, the present, and the future. We thank them all. Thank you, bless us to carry on as they would have us to carry on. Ashe, 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 oh! We love you, ancestors, and we love you too, African family. Carry on.
All right. Give thanks, give thanks. Much appreciation for the presentation from Brother New World Warrior.
I'm gonna read.
All right. Thank you all. I love you.
I'm gonna read some of the names that have been given to us, and if there's others that you think of, please, after I read them, just chime in. Again, our focus is to not only embrace the principles of Kwanzaa 7 days, but every day. And so we are connecting that with Maat, so that truth, justice, order, balance, reciprocity, righteousness is a part of our embracing Yamoja, Kujichangalia, Ujima, Ujama, etc. So again, we're talking about a 365 scope. So I'm going to read some of the names because again, we had meetings coming up with, and this is what we wanted to report. I was hoping Brother Shamari would be here. Is Brother Khalil in queue yet?
Yes, we did have him in queue. Yeah, he's back.
Okay, we're going to talk to Brother Khalil in a few moments because here in Philadelphia, we've done a lot of research. And there's reasons why some of us have become, as I've been told, persona non grata. And that means not very well liked. There's reasons other than what some think or have been told and have bought into. And we're going to share with you what some of those reasons are. Is there anyone that has not heard of the boule? Here we go. Great. Okay. Well, I'm not going to go into the history of it right now, but Philadelphia is the home of the boule. And this is not a fictitious thing. Believe me, I am here to tell you. Now, it might not be what you might have heard, but it does exist and it is working quite well. Why in Philadelphia do we not have access to educating our own children? And no, I don't mean a charter school. I mean Black folks, community, village, educating our own children. Why are we sending our children 5 days a week for the most part to a system and sometimes the actual entity that hate us? And we're sending our children here 5 days a week, 5 to 7 hours a day. So now, some of us have spoken out about this over the years and have identified some of the who, how, what, and why. The National Million Woman March happened in this city against all odds. And as I was told, I couldn't share this before, but I'm putting out something called the 100 Amazing Facts about the Million Woman March. Because some stuff that you've heard is not true. But I will tell you what is true. An entity in this city told me directly when I would not sell out. They said, or she said, and someone that walks amongst some of us, but said, the old girls are not going to let you do anything in this city. The old girls? What are you talking about? Huh? You'll see. This was give out turkeys every year and other kinds of things that the various parties give to them. So I digress because these ancestors that we're going to now mention their names, these are entities, powers, relationships, whatever you want it to be, that is going to help us now fight back and win. So, community, we're talking about, okay, I should have told y'all to print because some of these writings I'm not sure of. Okay, okay, Cody Anderson. Y'all remember that? I said. Roxanne Jones. Juanita Kid Stout. Brother Ken too. And it's two of them actually. It was the older Ken two and then what we call little Ken two. But again, some of you will never know who these people are, even though they kick butt in our community. Let me tell you, some of them was no joke. Right? Yeah, certain things didn't happen in our community the way you see it now. Because some people would check you. I mean, really. I mean, quick story. A sister was being abused. And she called me up and she said, I have to go. I need to go. She'd been married for many years and she finally made up her mind to leave. And she said, but I don't know what to do. I called Brother Ken too, the older Ken too. He said, sister, what do you need? I said, brother, I need you to go and get this sister and get her out. Because I know if we know, and y'all know what it is, by the way. I said, if this sister is saying this is what it is, this is what it is. We need to go get her. Ken two said, got you. Next thing I know, some brothers rolled up and got that sister and got her goods and put her somewhere and told that brother, see ya. And she was in our community, very, very well known after that on a regular basis. And y'all know exactly, I can't give you names, but she never looked back. And it was Ken 2 that went up in there and made sure that she was safe to be able to leave. That's the kind of stuff our brothers used to do in this city. Okay, so that's Brother Ken 2. Sister Fran Austin. That's right. We know about the Paul Wilson house, but if it wasn't for certain people, you would know. That sister right there, oh my gosh. Okay, okay, on another level, Ida B. Wells. Again, we were trying to focus on people here, but we're going to get to that too. We got what we call Sister Saints, and she's one of them. So we created our own Sister Saints, right? And she's one of them. Okay, Rena Irene Roberts and Cora Rivers. I'm sure that's some family. Okay, make sure you put that on there so that when we start putting it in the book, we know where it goes under. Okay. Sorry. Alex, Candy, okay, again, and Big Wally. All right. That's right. Clinton, Quarterman, and Baba Professor Kareem. And we have Dr. Ed Robinson again. Yes. And of course, with that, Baba Ed Breathing Battle and Baba Calvin Washington. Oh, he's here. Calvin Robinson, he's here too. And Baba Battleship and I shot the Musa. That's right. That's right. Okay. That's right. All right. Johnny Gossett. He too was UNIA. That's right. 121. James Gray. Again, Calvin Robinson and Del Jones. Okay, these are people who are in our community that on an ongoing level did things. Okay, community again. Can you read that? Maybe it's ready. All right. I'll let my get here. Lava Lasta.
Babalasha, Adeyemi, Brother Bob Hampson, Brother Robert Dickerson, Brother Tyehimba Gorman, aka Brother Derek Gorman. Right. We also have on the family side, Sister Loris Johnson and Brother William Johnson. Baptist.
All right. With that said, we also, of course, want to mention a name that most, I'm sure, not familiar with, Nana Tumchi Young Pump. Yes. I mean, there's so many in our community, and she used to call me her revolutionary daughter. She wore white all the time. But again, these are some of the names that you probably will never hear. But Baba Crowder.
That's right.
Woo! How could we not say Baba Crowder? Baba Shangi.
That's right.
Yes. Yes.
That's right.
And so again, we have to start keeping the history of our ancestors, the one that we want to uphold and share. All right, family. So again, this is an ongoing process. We'll be doing it every month. We're here at the Nile every month. Okay, so we're going to build our community. And with that, introduce to you several new things going on in our community. You will hear more about the Million Woman Party, which was going to have a National Black Women's Political Convention in March, so that as women, we can have an agenda that we present to politicians, both local and national. For example, what do our elected officials, what is their position on reparations? Do you know? We will know because we already submitted to all city council people. We already submitted them a 5-questionnaire. And the first one is, what is your position on reparations? Yes or no? Another one is, what is your position on COINTELPRO and the release of our political prisoners? So they all had this position some over a month ago. We're going to bring in Brother Khalil, who is going to share with us, again, why some of us are not liked very well. And with that, we're going to introduce to you now what we call the Philly Black Land, Community, and Home Reclamation Alliance. With that said, Brother Shamari, Brother Khalil, myself, and a few others have been working over the months to identify why our communities look the way they look. Who has been responsible in the past and who's responsible in the present. So with that said, are we ready for Brother Khalil?
Yes, we should be. I just want to briefly, there was a couple of names that was introduced into the chat as well, so I want to give them some credence as well, if I may.
All right, give thanks to those who are joining us virtually as well. All right, coming to the chat. We have Edith, Sister Edith Laurie, Brother Clifton Laurie, Sister Dorothy Mathis, Sister Layla Mathis, Sister Alma Hamilton, Brother Clifton Hamilton, Sister Bertie Hamilton, Sister Dolly Rebecca, Sister Lonnie Reynolds, Sister Annie Richardson, Brother Alan Conyers, and Brother Paul Richardson. All right, give thanks, Ashe. And then a couple more. We got Sister Galea Brown and Brother George Gordon. All right, give thanks once again. With that being said, we're getting ready to transition and bring in Brother Khalil. If you can give me a mic check, Brother Khalil, you ready to come in?
Mic check, mic check.
All right, queued up. All right, just give us 1 second. Your brother might have one final announcement, and we're gonna go to you.
Okay, Brother Khalil, share with us, there's and has made certain that corporations are able to take over our community. And most will not talk about this because that can be problematic, particularly when you're dealing with people.
He called me emergency.
Don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Black land, communities, and homes. So Khalil is one of the founding persons for this committee. And no, whatever you hear us talk about in terms of how we have been reduced in our communities, we can show you and bring. With that said, Brother Khalil, share with us the article that has recently appeared.
All right, yeah, thanks, Brother Khalil. You're up.
Baragani.
It's dirty.
KUUMBA Baragani.
Well, just to give you everyone a background as to the role that I play in this particular struggle. I served as chief investigator or lead investigator for the special investigations unit of the sheriff's office. And the special investigations that we did were problems where there were issues at sheriff sales. We had a serious problem after John Green left the office where Barbara Daly and some of the people that she brought into the office began setting up a structure within the sheriff's cell where we had insider trading, where some of the buyers were connected to one another and to the one of the title companies, or even both of the title companies that were in use at that time between 2011 and 2019. So he had a whole decade of unscrupulous behavior at sheriff sale. And our position, and not even our position, but the law is that anytime that you have a fraud involving a sheriff sale, that sheriff sale is to be voided. So from 2011 to 2019, we had fraud throughout the whole sheriff sale, where one of the title companies, particularly one of the title companies that hired the auctioneer, was also in league with the most prolific buyers from sheriff sale. We did the investigation. We talked to the law department. We had one of the lawyers, Steve Wakefield, who worked for the law department, gave us an email stating that he agreed with us. But he was told not to talk to me after he made that admission. And we also had the district attorney, Larry Krasner, open up a grand jury, but for some reason, he unimpaneled the grand jury. So all of this information has been left from the public, where the public would, those people who lost their properties would have grounds to file suit to void those or set aside those sheriff sales. That's the legal termination, to set aside the sheriff sales. So to set those aside means that we just void them, and it's like they never happened. And then this would give the people legal options to find arrangements either to stay in their properties or sell their properties, or let them go to sheriff sale underneath a fair process where everyone has the opportunity to be the winning bidder, and they may get the property may sell for more money than it sold before. And if there's any leftover funds after all the defendants, that's the person who's losing a house, after they pay all of their debts, if there's any money left over, they could use that money to start over in a new to get a new house, maybe apartment building where they could probably pay the rent for 1 or 2 years. Um, but that process has not been effectuated because we have had people within the government structure in the city of Philadelphia to do all that it could to stop this information from going public. And a lot of places, we were actually able to identify people who had properties that went up for sale. We were able to actually help them overturn those properties if it went to court. But for the vast majority of the people, we were not, and we were blocked by the government of the city of Philadelphia. So, in my opinion, uh, what they call gentrification is not really gentrification; it's ethnic cleansing. Yolanda Ward, we've identified an article by Yolanda Ward, who was a young lady who was a housing activist out of Washington, D.C. She worked very closely with people in our community, people like Charlie Boo Barris, people like Henry DiBernardo, people like Milton Street, where she actually was able to appropriate some documents from HUD, which talked about what HUD deemed as spatial um, deconcentration. Spatial deconcentration was a policy, and it's mentioned right there in the Kerner Commission, the 16th and 17th chapters, where they wanted to ensure that Black people would never be more than 25% of any jurisdiction that they were in. And that meant that as far as majority voting blocks, as they call it, that would basically end your representation within the government of the United States. And I want us to pay close attention, very close attention to what's happening in Israel, or well, Palestine, by the Israelis. Because what you see going on in Palestine is happening to us. It's just that in Palestine, they're doing it by the gun and the bomb. In Philadelphia, they're doing it through legislation. And we can begin with Michael Nutter. I don't know what you think about Michael Nutter, but when he was mayor, in my opinion, he did more to undermine Black people than any Black person in the last 50 years. When he established the AVI, which is the actual valuation initiative, which switched the burden of the tax debt away from commercial property onto residential properties. So that meant that the homeowners would bear the heavy burden, and the burden on commercial entities would be lightened. And with the valuation, this is when the city started to target particularly Black seniors with evaluating their properties at higher rates than anyone else in the city. Even though these same elders, if they sold those homes, they would not be able to realize those actualizations of their tax assessment. They would not get the same sale price as what the city said that the property was worth. So a lot of these properties, instead of being granted to the next generation of the seniors' property or the elders' property, it went up for share sale. So we've had two controllers that have done studies that show where Black people were targeted at a higher rate than white people as far as tax assessments. So we see the dispersion of the Black community through that process. And to add on to that process, we had an acceleration of share sales from beginning in 2011. One of the things that we have to realize is that I don't know what a lot of you think about John Green, who was the former sheriff, and he served for 22 years. But when John Green was sheriff, he stopped the sheriff's sales twice because he said too many properties were going up for sale. And there was another thing that was happening at the sheriff's sale, that, in particular the tax sale. L and I had went out on a very vicious and evil campaign against Black elders, where they were actually finding elders for property violations. And as these properties racked up these violations and fines, these properties were going up for sheriff's sale. What John Green did, he sent me out with a group of contractors, Black contractors, who would repair those violations so that the elders wouldn't fall victim to sheriff's sale. We had another plan unleashed by the city of Philadelphia. This is why they got rid of the Vivian Miller's position. She was the holder of court records for the criminal courts. The name of the office escapes me right now, but they actually closed that office because they had a plan. If you were formerly incarcerated or convicted of a crime and you didn't pay your fines and costs, they would apply that to your house plus interest from the time that you were convicted, and then those properties were going up for sheriff's sale. It was a Jewish lawyer by the name of Rosenberger who taught us in the sheriff's office, say, hey, look, what the city's doing is illegal, because if you're on probation or parole and they let you off of probation and parole and tell you that you have completed all the terms of that probation or parole, they can't come back later on and say, oh, we forgave the $10,000, but now we want it. That was called a reposement violation. Mr. Rosenberger, after he made that complaint against the city of Philadelphia, he died. So it was no one really to champion that. And a lot of people who were formerly incarcerated lost their homes at sheriff's sale because of oversight on the behalf of their parole or probation officer. So we have all these things taking Black properties. I reached out and began working with Sister Empress Phila and Brother Shamari. We formed an organization, and our main focus was actually to start a class action lawsuit against the city of Philadelphia, against the sheriff's office, to say that, hey, it was all these illegal acts, these sales should have been voided, and they weren't. And we also have documentation that the city was aware that these things were happening and continued to sell the properties without correcting the insider trading that was going on in the sheriff's office. And we've reached out to people, elected officials, particularly city council, to schedule meetings, because we want this to be the public to have input on what's going on and how do we remedy the situation. So we found an article just recently in the newspaper. We found that the tax sales have not been conducted for over the last 3 years. In the article, the reporter speculated that because the city thought that there was an issue with the contract, they have not been conducting those particular sales. So this is according to the article. Our position is, if the city believes that the contract is illegal and therefore they canceled the sale. We have an email where you acknowledge illegal sales being conducted for a whole decade. So if these new sales under Sheriff Bilal should be voided if there's an issue with the contract, we want to go back not 3 years, but we want to go back to 2011 and say, let's take a look at all of these sales, and you need to cough up some cash because you've deliberately, ethnically cleansed African American people through a corrupt judicial process that you yourself acknowledge was a corrupt due to insider trading. The key was that the company, which was one of the title companies that was that was used by the sheriff's office under the administrations of Barbara Dealey and Jewel Williams, called City Line Abstract, actually own properties with, or if not own properties or done business with some of the major buyers at sheriff's sale. They represented these people in court cases, and all of that was furnished to the city law department. They had all of the information. They acknowledged that we were right and still allowed these properties to be sold. But City Line Abstract was in league with some of the major buyers at city sheriff sales, and these were the people who actually bought the most properties. So we're saying it was corrupt. We everyone is familiar for at least the last 10 years in the newspaper where people have been going to jail because they were in league and doing special favors. Employees of the sheriff's office were doing special favors for certain buyers at sheriff sale. Okay, I investigated that. I was the one who turned all of the information over. I turned over that there were people who were getting, I don't know why employees were just giving these people money, $20,000, $30,000 of the taxpayers' money. And no one has ever come in to do an accounting of what really went wrong. The controller, Rebecca Reinhardt, she never came in to examine. We gave her a report. Her staff did a report based on what we gave them and acknowledged that we were right. Rebecca Reinhardt refused to put it out. And this goes to show that there was a racially motivated criminal conspiracy going on in the sheriff's office for a whole decade, and no one did anything about it. So if the city's acknowledging that now, and we know why they acknowledge it, because they know that the Black community is on the hunt. And I want to say this, and this is why I'm going back to Israel. One of the things about capitalism that we have to be clear on, capitalism requires genocide to happen because all wealth is based on land. After you colonize everything and there's nothing else to colonize, then you're going to have to start removing people from where they are to start the process all over again. So America got its wealth from killing the native people of this land. They got their wealth and everything they have from bringing us from our home to this land. And we work the land. If you take a look at Nazi Germany murdered the Jews, not because they were anti-Semitic, but because they lost all of their colonies. They didn't have any people of color to exploit, so they had to start exploiting and expropriating the land of the people of Europe. And that's why Hitler is looked at as the most evil man in the world, because his greatest sin was colonizing white people. So there's a crisis now. You have BRICS as a competing economic system to the system that was set up by the United States. And the United States is beginning to be boxed in. So as the economic woes come home, white people will need, as Hitler called it, living space. So now you're seeing that you can say things about black people in particular, but people in color in general, and there's no uh, pushback. There's no problem with you talking evil about us because they're creating a scenario. If you notice, Joe Biden and the Democratic Party has black people doing all the dirty work against Trump. Trump is building a fascist movement, and he's saying that he is going to come after the people who came after him. If you look at all of the DAs around the country who's going after Trump, they happen to be black. The key is to divert white anger away from rich people and focus that anger against black people in particular and other people of color. This is why Nikki Haley couldn't say that slavery was the cause of the Civil War. This is why Ron DeSantis and Republicans across the country are making sure that any reference to the genocide that was conducted against our people are taken out of the history books of the American school system. So I'm saying this as a law enforcement professional over 30 years, you better arm yourself. You better learn how to fight. You better organize. We have to have young people in here. And we want to begin. And I say this because one thing I know about these individuals, uh, races, it's they always like to fight peaceful people who don't fight back. But there's an old saying, hunting ain't no fun when a rabbit got a gun. But we need to organize our young people along the lines. We have 22,000 illegal evictions going on in the city of Philadelphia every year. Every single year, 22,000 of our people. 80% of them are black people, 70% are black women and children. And it fits the same thing that's going on in Palestine. 80% of the people who are dying in that genocidal attack by the Israelis are Palestinian civilians. 73% are women and children. Those numbers are matching. If you read the 84-page report where the South African government is charging Israel with genocide, if you read what's happening there, you can make direct correlations to what's happening to us in this country. So what I'm saying is we need to have people, if there's an illegal lockout, if this government doesn't want to do its job, we need to have people in place to do the job. And I hope they're listening. I can speak this way because I've done every research, been threatened, been everything that you could do to a person to shut them up, and you still ain't do your job. So now it's time for the people to do your job, because I'm not going to sit around and let this government do what they want to do to my people. I'll go to the grave, I'll go to the cemetery, I'll fight, die, and kill for the liberation of my people, Baragani.
All right. Give thanks, good brother. With that being said, we want to open up the floor for questions and comments. Also in the chat, someone was asking for your contact information, so you can put that in the chat and also share it with us here, whichever email or whichever you feel most comfortable with, as far as people following up with you.
That's fine. You can reach out to me. The best way to reach out to me is through an email. My email is C as in Charlie, E as in Eddie, A as in Apple, the word group, .K as in kite, A as in Apple, @gmail.com.
Okay, give me that one more time, good brother.
Okay, that's C as in Charlie, E as in Eddie, A as in Apple, the word group, dot, K as in kite, A as in Apple, at gmail.com.
Okay, all right. So I have CEA group.ka@gmail.com.
Yes.
Okay, all right, good thanks, good brother. With that being said, I want to open up the floor for any questions and comments. I don't see anything in the chat, so I want to come to our live room first, and then circle back around, and that also is in the chat as well for the brother's email, and I have that written down here for the live audience. With that being said, if there's any questions or comments for Brother Khalil. Yes.
I believe there's documentation to support that this malfeasance that's taken place in the sheriff's department started many years before 2011. We can show you as recent as last night, illegal foreclosures, bogus foreclosures, lawyers are taking over everything north of City Hall. We know for a fact there's more than $250 million offshore. We've been screaming about this for more than 15 years. Nobody wants to hear it. Maybe because I don't have a group behind me. I don't know, but I do know one thing. Rights of redemption is written in the Philadelphia Charter, and we need to go after it. And everybody in this room needs to stop playing and start getting that unclaimed property from everywhere, not just from the Treasury Department, but all these banks. Everybody has all this hidden money right in public view. Every bank, every utility company. These foreclosures are serious malfeasance. And we could prove through the formulas the sheriff used. I know where the bones are buried. I know somebody who's privileged to go in and buy property backdoor. He's in federal prison right now. Let's do it.
All right, give thanks. Make sure we have the information so we can be able to follow up with you as well. All right, any other questions or comments from the live audience? Yes.
While we wait for sister to come up. Is there anyone that did not get the information? Okay, I'll make sure you get one. And also you can take an extra to have people sign on. Because if you notice on one part, the demand has already been sent to City Council, and the demands are all forms of share sales, including those resulting from mortgages, foreclosures, property taxes, delinquency, water tax, and utility bills. So we've already issued this to City Council demanding that there be a cease and a moratorium on all sheriff sales. Also, any new building and construction permits, any kind of licensing issued through zoning, planning, and license and inspection. We want all of that to cease until their public hearings in the community, and also access. The other demand is pending the future land bank transaction. So anything that's going to go through the city that deals with the land bank must stop until they provide you with information regarding what it is, how it is, who's operating it, and so forth. Last, an adverse possession. What does that mean? We have 44 roughly thousand vacant properties in Philadelphia. Now, some of those properties have already been removed. So that's why you see a lot of land or a lot of space. That's to help developers to be able to get what they want. So what we're saying is remaining properties, we want to now deal with the process of adverse possession. And that is where particularly if you have a group organization, should be getting access to property first. So we're going to share with you how that's going to work. So this is to hear your question, comment.
Hey, I do a lot of community work. And my biggest frustration is a lot of people don't take the time to read and do a little research and educate themselves. And they don't go, and you have the same people in there that are doing nothing, and people just go up in there and say there's nothing I can do. There is something you can do. And if you're not educating yourself, especially about judges and like we were talking about the DA and all the stuff, the sheriff's office, the same people keep getting in there because people are sitting at home and they're not voting, and people that keep voting aren't educating themselves. So I encourage people to read up on things, come to things like this, get your education, to know what you're doing, and spread it among the community. Thank you.
Okay, Brother Khalil, we're coming back to you. Brother Shamar is getting ready to call in a few moments. At any rate, if we say to you, have you ever heard of the Black United Front? Well, okay, it's years ago, but how politicians started getting elected in Philly and other cities was because of what was known as the Black United Front. I know because I was a young student and they had us out in the street doing a lot of stuff in the hood, petitions, all of that. So my point is, sister, we are now bringing you several components because to say what we need to do does not get done. So what we're presenting to you all is entities or functions that you can get involved in so that when we say to people, this is what we suggest you do or don't do, it will be organized, well researched. As you can tell, Brother Khalil said he's been in this for 30 years. And not just in the community, but behind the scenes. And I say that because I want you to know his name. Because what tends to happen in Philly is when people step up, the enemy brings them down, and the folks sit back and watch. So y'all need to know who this brother is. Because there's no way he's going to share this kind of information with us if you not think that he's going to be fun. How do we know? Mumia Abu Jamal. Those are the interested. We have some people sign if you're interested joining our support for free movement. Because how he ended up where he's at, being in our community, just a regular brother, you can see him anytime in the sun, he's still on his step, but he spoke out for us. And he did it in an eloquent, professional manner. And the rest is history. And now it's 40 years. And so black folks in this city say no, because all of the new family is now released. All of it. There's no reason for women to do them. Okay, Brother Khalil, you ready for the next question? Anyone else has a question? Or is there anyone
Yes,
else?
sir. Yes, I am.
Okay, Brother Khalil, I have a quick question. I'm going to turn it back over to the family. So, you are, of course, privy to information and insight that has not been more recently revealed. With the article that's coming out, or that has come out, do you think that that is possibly also how they're going to maneuver to get another sheriff and more of their choice?
Well, I believe that that is their method. Anytime when you remove the elected position, you actually camouflage or cover up. No one's looking. Like when we had Vivian Miller, who was head of the clerk of court of sessions. I was there when she and John Green got letters from the government to close their offices. She closed her office. The people who came in and took over those offices. I can't remember the lady's name, but she instantly stole $64,000 to pay off her mortgage. They implemented the program of going back in time and finding people who have not paid their fines and costs, but who were excused by the government from paying them. And then the city, after excusing themselves, these people went on to lead productive lives, bought homes, and then after forgiving them 20 years later, coming back and say, yeah, I know I forgave you, but you owe me this money, and if you don't pay me, we're going to sell your house. And these were people who were productive citizens. Who came back to lead productive lives, got jobs, retired, many of them, uh, and no one actually came to their aid. And because we didn't have an elected official, because when you have a personality attached to a policy, people can gravitate and they pay attention. You know what so and so did. You know he's doing this or she's doing that. So that opens people up. But if you take a look at these non-elected positions, take the PICA board. The PICA board is an unelected oversight body that where our city government that we elect can't pass a budget unless the okay is given by the PICA board, the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Agency, something like that. But we call it the PICA board. They okay the budget, okay, but they're unelected. They're not really answerable to us. So how is it that we can elect someone and elect them to do things, but they don't have ultimate control over the budget that will take them, that it will take to do the things that the citizens want them to do? So not having an elected sheriff, I really believe that is what they want to do. But we have to make sure, number one, there should be, and I'm calling for this publicly, there should be a public oversight body made up of citizens over the sheriff's office. So when there are controversies, we don't have to fight and get written up and have to, just a bunch of mess that you have to go through just to do the right thing. If there was a body that we could go to and say, hey, this is a problem, and that independent body looks at it and they're attached to the community. I'm not talking about something where they're appointed, but people who come right from the community that we can say, hey, look, this is a problem, something needs to happen. That should be a requirement of the of the sheriff's office to make sure that the citizens have input. We should have a sheriff's citizens academy because a lot of people don't know what we do, so they can't judge us. But if I can teach you about the rules of civil procedure, if I can teach you about the rules of criminal procedure, if you go through a process of the sheriff's office and it does not follow that procedure, you can say, I know you're supposed to do step A, B, and C before you get here. But because people are uninformed about what we do, like it's very difficult to do something illegal at sheriff's sale if you know criminal and civil procedure. Everything we do is written out in steps, but the public is not aware of that. So we should have a citizens academy. So with those citizens who go through that academy, then they would be on an oversight body that would be able to make sure there will be a check and balance on the sheriff's office. The third thing is the city council has to be aware of its responsibility as a check on the sheriff's office. Because when you go out into the counties, see, Philadelphia is a city and county at the same time. But when you go out into the counties, the county commissioners actually can call the sheriff in and say, hey, what's going on? City council, you do have subpoena power to do investigations, and you should be calling people in. We should be able to reach out to you and stop giving, fellow elected official courtesy and do the people's business. You could be my friend, but this is the people's business. The people need to be aware of what's going on, and we want to hold hearings and we want to hold people accountable because it may be a thing where you honestly don't know, but somebody should be there to inform you. So those type of reforms can keep uh, the people's interests alive because you don't want anybody appointed to by one individual. You want somebody appointed by the people and the masses of the people, the citizens of the city. But then you also want to have oversight to make sure that that person is doing what they should be doing in the office.
All right. Give thanks. Much appreciated, brother. We do have a question from our live audience. Sis, if you want to come up. And also, when we come up, though, we can introduce ourselves. So one of two things that we're doing here, we're building a collective and we're making sure that we continue to build community, right? So one of the things we want to do is make sure we're getting familiar with one another, groups, entity, organizations that we're representing. That way, when we're moving forward with our fight for liberation and in our fight for freedom, we can build on those collectives. We can understand who we are, who's in what department, so we know who we can depend on, who we can go to for certain actions, all right? So if you can once again just be able to introduce ourselves just briefly, let us know what group, entity, organization you're representing, and just briefly any gift, talents, or abilities you may have as we move forward with different.
Good evening. I'm Stephanie Robert. Ernest, I just have a question. Since you said,
Yeah, so
is there any way that in the people of our own community, our own Black community, is there any way for people of our own Black community or people that's inside the council that or that look at people on a type of board? Like, is there any way to have a separate, like we're saying about a separate committee that look over what that type of board look over? How do they even come? I mean, this is how it came into play, but is there another board or any other way to have some kind of other eyes inside of that community, inside of the council to say, hey, listen, oh, I see that's what's going on because some kind of other some kind of other organization that looks at them. Is there another board either coming from government or someone that just say, well, hold on, we see that too, that's not right, that's illegal, and third.
Yes, I believe he did briefly touch on that. I think he was getting to that as far as having some political education surrounding what's going on in the sheriff department and having an introduction. So that's what he's talking about building. So I just wanted to brief on that before I let the brother continue.
Is it any inside of the company, inside of the council,
No, this will be something that will be done by the people.
Right. Right. So the reason why we're looking at and seeing what we're seeing in our community is because, to answer the sister's question, the answer is no. And so because we're not organized in our communities to deal with accountability, then people do whatever they want to do. So what's happening now with a new mayor coming in, we're now organizing in our community. So the next session that we have here will focus on what we call Black Communities United, where we will propose to people in our community, if you want to be a block general, or if you want to be a community council member, we have to have an independent entity. So that way the community has its own governance so that we can discuss issues, come up with strategies, do whatever that can be presented to city council or whoever. We have to be organized, because other than that, they dismiss you. So to go back to Brother Khalil, what we're doing is bringing groups and organizations together under kind of one umbrella. That's what, when I mentioned Black United Front, that's what that was. So now we're kind of doing something similar, but we call it Black Communities United. Brother Khalil he has an organization, Brother Shamari, Brother Bay. So for us to have our own city council, community city Black businesses are in your community and why? And the ones that are not there, what are they doing other than selling hoagies and whatever? That's a whole other topic. But my point is you have to be organized. And here's something else to note. For the stores that are in your community, 9 times out of 10, the top portion of the store is boarded up. You ever ask yourself why? Yeah. But by being organized, we are able to present those questions. Lastly, to go back to Brother Khalil, did Brother Shamari call in yet? Because Brother Shamari is putting together a political education component so that in the community, you will be able to know what is the register of wills, what does it do, how much will get paid, these are things that you vote for, right? But we also want to know, are any of you invested in running for an office? And then we deal with the training and other things that go with that. So Brother Shamari has been working on a preliminary civics, poli-sci kind of course or information where you will at least know what do city council people do? Well, I mean, what's the actual job? Do you know? The commissioner? What does it do? So this is what Brother Shamari hopefully will be joining us shortly and will share with us, because you'll be able to sign up for that. So that again, we're not telling people to vote and you don't know what you're voting for. That's called sheeple. Okay, back to Brother Khalil, and then we are going to get ready to go into the next phase. We're going to do a quick candle lighting, and then we want to hear from Dr. Tarik Richardson, who wrote a paper on KUUMBA, and he's going to come in with us from Louisiana. He's a professor at Xavier College, and you're going to love his spirit because this is the kind of representation that we've been talking about, meaning what Dave Richardson said in his last speech. He said, I'm a Black man first, then I'm a state rep. He said, I'm a Black man first. So we're connecting with brothers and sisters who are Black men and women first, and then Dr. So-and-so or whoever, whatever. So Dr. Tarik has that kind of spirit. He's Dr. Tarik now, don't get it confused. He's a Black man first. Brother Khalil, we're going to wrap up.
Yes.
Closing comments?
Yes. Well, one of the things, since we're talking about possibilities in the sheriff's office, and Sister Phila, I will get you a copy of this. I wrote a proposal. And one of the things I wanted to do is to use the sheriff's office as a stop gap measure for stopping gentrification or ethnic cleansing in our communities. You talked about these stores with these the empty parts of the building on top of the building, but also in the stores. If you look at the stores, a lot of them are nuisance. They have illegal gambling machines. They also facilitate a lot of drug paraphernalia sales. So that's bringing addicts and drug users to those stores, and that brings drug dealers to that area. And then they create a situation of when these type of criminal activities happen, these drug addicts don't work. What they do is they break into your house, they break into your car, they create so much damage. So now you have this thing called nuisance abatements. So what I figured what could happen is in the sheriff's office, you have civil deputies who could go out and cite these people for code violations. And once this property is deemed to be a nuisance property, then that property can be condemned under the nuisance abatement laws of the state. And once the sheriff's office condemned them, we can find a community organization where the members live right there in the community, not some developer coming in taking over their property, but community members who live in the community. And they can actually take over those businesses and own them as co-ops. And we in this way we can take back our communities because in criminology, you have a triangle, and in that triangle, the first triangle, you're supposed to have protection of people and property. That's the police. You're supposed to have management of the offenders. That's the courts and the prisons and probation and parole. But you're also supposed to have space managers who make sure that there's not enough opportunity for a criminal environment to prevail. So this means taking over nuisance properties. There was a 12-year-old kid who was thrown in a dumpster, but he was in a trap house. What is a trap house? It's a house that's vacant, and people take it over to do illegal activities. They store stolen goods. They store drugs. They sell drugs out of these places. So if somebody was managing that property, the young man would not have died there. So let us take over those properties, give them to the people in the property. Let's talk to people in our communities. We have the Nation of Islam. If our people are not trained to live in the house, I know the MGT, the Muslim girls training, can actually teach. That's what the Nation of Islam teach our young women how to keep a house. Train the FOI will train our young men how to be husbands and fathers and how to do home repairs and things of this nature. And there's other groups that's doing it, but I just use the Nation of Islam because they have a high profile and we know that's what they do. So it can be done. But we have to put more of a demand. We have to put a revolutionary demand on these elected officials. We have to create revolutionary agendas. And if you're going to run for office, you're going to have to submit to this agenda. And if you get in and you lie, we want to recall you and we're going to get you out of there.
All right. Okay, we're still waiting for Brother Shamari. So what we're going to do is move forward. Just so you can see, family, this is what was given to all Black political officials in the city council. It is a summary. Well, you have a summary of it, but this is the whole thing that they were given back in September, November. And so we do have 3 meetings scheduled. What is her name? Okay, let's see. One was, do you remember Catherine? Right. No, I'm sorry. The Workers' Party. Kendra Brooks. We do have a confirmation from Kendra Brooks. And also, Brother Khalil, do you remember the other one? I think it's 3 now, but there is definitely another one that Janie Gauthier. Now, I have to say this as a sidebar. Back in July of this year, we met with Councilwoman Gauthier and brought to her attention that we wanted a building in her district. It is at 52nd Street, right off of Lansdowne Avenue. We've been working on that building for 5 years, but when COVID went in, we had to kind of slow it down, meaning we already approached Janie Blackwell prior. We went to Councilwoman Gauthier and explained to her, conveyed to her, that building has been sitting for over 20 years, vacant. And we now think that property that's in our community should go to our community, particularly groups and organizations that have shown consistency of service. She agreed that this would be a wonderful thing to do. Well, she follows the suit of most in Philly in the political arena. This is what happened. We agreed to meet again to start moving forward because we already took the lock off, went inside, took pictures, and started cleaning inside and out. And no, we know our rights. So we weren't being crazy or we knew our rights. There's no trespassing. There's no indication of ownership. There's nothing on that building that says anything. So legally, we had the right to go into a building that's been sitting in our community for over 20 years, vacant. So of course they had no argument for any of that. But the point is, we've made the first step in cleaning it up and documenting certain things. She agreed. But let me tell you what then happened. She called for a meeting with members of the community the following month in August. But guess what? We weren't invited. We found out about it because someone in that community knew that we'd been there because we had set up a tent right in front of the building, giving out information, telling people this is what we're trying to do. We want this to be the Harriet Tubman Justice and Humanity Library. And the community was like, yes. Well, Jane Gauthier put flyers out in the community to hold a community meeting and never even told us. But somebody in the community, this is why our community is so important. They sent us the flyer. You said, y'all coming this year, welcome to something about this. And they were like, huh? So for 20 years, the building's been vacant. As soon as we say we want the community to have this building, the city holds a meeting at the Shoemaker National School and bring in architects and city representatives and all of that about what they can do with the building now. To answer your question, sister, see, this is how they get operated. And we have all the documentation to prove what I just said. As soon as we walked in that room, because she was not expecting me, Miss Gauthier left the building. Within 5 minutes, she walked out. This is what we're talking about doing in the building now. So that people are not able to do this to us like they've been doing it. We don't get grants and corporate sponsoring. Therefore, we're not playing advantage. Now that's been costly in other ways, but nevertheless, it is what it is. So again, we're going to get ready to, hey, Sister Dottie, I see you there, Mama Condi. We're going to get ready to do a quick lighting of the candle, and we're going to talk with and hear from Dr. Tarik Richardson. It is such a joy to meet him and to welcome him to our family, because that's what we're building here. With that said, is anyone here familiar with AFCOM? I know you have to be, Brother Bay. AFCOM used to be at Lehigh Avenue. Well, the AFCOM Learning Center is where the first Kwanzaa in the community happened here in Philadelphia. 25th and Lehigh. It's the church, it's the ODAD has it now. But prior to that, it was called the AFCOM Learning Center. My son and others were naming ceremonies was there. So when my son was born, one of my sons was born, the naming ceremony was at AFCOM Learning Center. That's where Brother Rob Dickerson, that's where he taught martial arts at, before Universal and all of that. He taught at the AFCOM Learning Center. All right, and it was independent. Father Bird was an ally to Father Paul Washington. They were in the same kind of, hookup. And they were teaching and educating from a Black national perspective, even though they were men of the cloth. The point is, when my son had his name ceremony, elder, Father Bird said, who will take care of this child if his father cannot? Someone stood up and said, I will. Anybody know who that person was? Say it again. Nope. And Olushamba, and he was sign, martial arts? No. But no, the person that stood up, and the elder said, who will take care of this child if his father cannot? The person who stood up was Mumia Abu Jamor. He said, I'll take care of this child if his father cannot. This is the history of someone that we're using. And so we're going to get ready now to light the candle for today. Then we're going to hear from Dr. Tarik. And before we do, I want to go back to Tyehimba. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of the information, good vibrations. This is the time of Kwanzaa that many of us were used to. And so we want to keep the best spirit, but we also want to make sure all right, let's go with our Kwanzaa lighting.
All right, give thanks. Before we do that, also I want to acknowledge our vendors. Okay, if you could come up really quickly, just want to give opportunity to introduce yourself, your business, all right, and make sure we can get that. We are streaming on Facebook Live as well as Zoom. So I just want to make sure that you can get your information out there anyway that individuals now or in the future can be able to patronize it. Let it play.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Olivia Stefan. I am the founder and CEO of Entrepreneurship. What I have today are the beautiful populares from Mozambique. That is what the women wear, the general garb. They use it for many, many different things. They carry their babies, they wear cloth. I'm really young. I would like to, if you got me up to open one up to this thing, right? Okay. Oh, okay. So this is like very bold African perspective, very beautiful people, very intelligent. Africa is not what you see on TV a lot of times. I would say it's purely impact, but don't listen to what people say about us or what you see on television, because that's what we have. That's what it is. So the new thermal wall art, these are 100% cotton. This is wax. So it the part is typically once you wash it, it is very soft, 100% cotton. And if you happen to purchase one and it has a tag, they have said to just iron it on the opposite side and iron that adhesive right off. And the very first wash, they say to clean it in vinegar or salt to not be coated. And we used to do that with this word, you know, we would probably go with vinegar, so I think that works. Thank you so much. I think our opening started back, and I would be happy to show anyone a lot of their choice. I don't mind opening them because they're all beautiful and gives everyone a chance to see it. And I just would like to say politically, if I don't just, I ran for office also with the city council as a green, I'm a green candidate. And we do have a green candidate for president. So look beyond the Tea Party duopoly that has gotten us into this problem. But thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
Everybody, my name is Harriet, and my whole focus and passion is to help women with their mental health regardless. So I have dedicated pretty much my life and my path to helping women to find herbal remedies and holistic remedies for a lot of the wound elements that are taking our community, such as vibrating cysts, such as endometriosis. And my entire line and the work that I do came out of me learning how to heal and work with my own issues and health. And then traveling to Africa and Costa Rica and Panama and Mexico and sitting with the midwives and the women that were there in order to create the remedies that I had in addition to communal the spirit through prayer and being safe and was given the herbs that young became the line that I created to help women to heal, which is also what I use for myself. So my company's name is Young Love Herbals. Recently I have launched, or about a year, 2 years ago, I launched a online learning platform where I actually teach the women health and wellness to women, and it has really expanded over the past year. So if you know anyone who is interested in learning how to heal their womb or dealing with health and wellness issues, please just reach out to me. My name again is Julie Herbals on all platforms, and that's my information.
All right, give thanks again. A round of applause for the contributions of Tyehimba and Urban Sound. If you can give a round of applause over the love. All right. Good thanks. All right, and give a round of applause for yourself. Thank you for sticking with us. This is a lengthy program. Give a round of applause for yourself. If you just stand up with me, just stand up. Just get a little bit loose, get the blood circulating. All right, let's get the legs shaking a little bit. All right, let's get the stagnation out of the way. All right, thanks, much appreciated, much appreciated. All right, let's kick off a little bit, take a couple steps in place. All right, you can bob with the groove. All right, visit your local vendors here. All right, if you want to show them a little bit of love, a little patronage, you can do so at this time. And in the meantime, in between time, I'm going to start the candle lighting procedure. As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask if Bob wants to participate in this proceedings as elder. But participate in the candle lighting procedures. All right, good thanks, much appreciated. All right, I'm going to have Baba Zumbi give assistance with me in the candle lighting process. Say anything as we introduce to the proceedings.
It's just always a pleasure to gather with African people. Certainly during this time of year, we celebrate. So we honor our culture, we honor our history. It's a blessing and pleasure of mine. Thank you.
All right, good thanks. We'll get ready to get into the candle lighting ceremony. All right, we're going to first be lighting the black candle, which is a representation of Umoja, which is unity, to strive for, maintain unity in the community, nation, and race.
Before you light the candle, no one is paying any mind to this. It's very significant in our cultures.
Okay, all right.
Amen. Amen.
All right, give thanks. I did want to give opportunity for folks to stretch their legs, but we are getting to the candle lighting procedure. All right, so I will be lighting the first candle of Kwanzaa, which is going to be Moja. All right, so we can just give a brief attention to the candle and the candle lighting. All right, the first candle is going to be for Umoja, unity. Umoja. All right, the second candle I'm going to light is Kudi Chagulia, self-determination. Kudi Chagulia, self-determination.
Kudi Chagulia.
All right, then I'm going to light the next candle, which is Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Can everyone say Ujima? Ujima. Collective work and responsibility. All right, next I'm going to be lighting the candle of Ujamaa. Cooperative economics. All right, next I'm lighted a candle for KUUMBA Kwanzaa. All right, and lastly, just to, we're not gonna be here for tomorrow, but I'm gonna light the final candle of Imani, which is faith. Everyone say Imani. Faith. All right, family, give thanks. And with that, we have completed the candlelighting ceremonies for Kwanzaa. All right, I say, give thanks.
All right, family. Before we bring on Dr. Tarik Richardson, I have a few brief announcements. When you come back next month, and I hope you will share this because we're here every month. Again, we're developing a new community here in Philly. I mentioned AFCOM because we are now bringing forth what we call the Global AFCOM Village, which is kind of the continuation of what was started here a few years back, when we really kind of had some stuff going on. One of the things that we want to introduce to you for our young girls, but if you have a young daughter or a young black female in your family community who likes to sing, we invite them to be a part of the Philly Black Girls Freedom Choir. We have an instructor who will help them to develop their vocal skills. And the idea is to ultimately allow them to travel, to record, and again, keep them out of some trouble. So again, the Black Girls Freedom Choir, so that they can get introduced to some of the history of our music coming from Nina Simone or Ella Fitzgerald, and then bringing it up to the present day, but get some history. What about Mama Africa, Mary Makeba? There's so many. So again, the Black Girls Freedom Choir. Every city will have one, ultimately that comes together on a national level. And then we have one for our older sisters, we call them Divine Divas. So we'll tell you about that later. The other thing that's coming, how many are familiar with Patti LaBelle? Well, I hope I didn't leave a flyer, but hold on that to Patti LaBelle. How about Dawn Staley? Yeah. Well, we're going to do Dawn Staley Day for 2024. Do you know that she has made history with the women's championships? She's from Philly, y'all. Robin, So in May, we plan to celebrate our sister with the Dawn Staley Day. Okay? We have the same thing coming for Patti LaBelle. In May, Patti LaBelle, and we're calling her Queen, our community queen, Dawn Staley and Patti LaBelle. Patti will be 80 next year. 80! I remember sitting on the step, and they used to be rehearsing inside, and she was, like 14, 15, or whatever, but the point is, she'll be 80 next year, y'all, and she's Philly! Philly! So again, Patti LaBelle, a legend in our time. So we will salute her in May. And we're going to have city council and all of them to do it too, but the community. Because she came out of the community, right? So again, Dawn Stanley and Patti LaBelle, as a part of Women's History Month, we are going to declare them queens of our community. Okay. Lastly, we have 25 sister saints now. And so there's 25 women that we have now looked at. Oh, by the way, today is Amy Jocks Garvey Day. Today. She is one of our sister saints. But she may transition on this day. Speaking of that, I would be remiss if I didn't give a big shout out to Baba Battle, Raymond Battle, because yesterday was his transition day. And we say Baba Battle made transition for a purpose, because yesterday was the day of purpose. So again, we know how to embrace our ancestors.
With this, you will hear us get ready for the installment of Araminta. Does anybody know? Not Araminta. That's right. Araminta's given name, Harriet Tubman's given name was Araminta. That's why they call her Minty. Next year will be the 175th year of her freedom. Where did she come to get her freedom? Come on, y'all.
She came through here.
No. Where did she actually get her freedom on record? Philadelphia. Come on. December the 6th, 1849. Harriet Tubman walked in Philly. Met with William Still. Had her name put in the book. This was important document stuff. And this is why, again, next year will be the 175th year of her coming to Philadelphia. So it's important that we really know the dynamics of Philly. It is so very important. So again, next year we begin an installment process of Araminta, Harriet Tubman. We want her as a sister saint. We will also be introducing to you all first and then to the nation and the world. We are starting a campaign for it to be a holiday for a Black woman. We have 3 that have been narrowed down. Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, and Rosa Parks. You all will be able to join in on the poll before we present it to Congress. Who would you like to see there be a holiday for? We have 2 holidays that's ours, or considered ours. One, the first one was who? Dr. Martin Luther King. Y'all asleep today.
Wake us up.
Okay, Dr. Martin Luther King is the first holiday for someone Black, federally speaking, legally speaking, all that. What's the second one? Juneteenth. So we have one that recognizes the work of a Black man, another that recognizes our people as a whole. So is there not time for there to be a recognition for a Black woman? Absolutely. So again, Harriet Tubman. We want it as a holiday. Yes, but there's 2 others, and you all will be able to vote very soon. It's Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, and Sojourner Truth. And so we'll start doing some of the finalizing in March and get ready for the actual national campaign. Yes, sir.
What is Sojourner Truth famous for?
Whoa! Can anybody answer this question? Ain't I a woman? Ain't I a woman? Does anyone know any history on Saint Sojourner Truth? Whoa! This is why we have the 25 Sister Saints. So, the great Sojourner Truth was another one of our women who, she's kind of taught in school, but her greatness is not so much taught or known. And so she was very outspoken, particularly when it came to the issue of Black women during a time when that was certainly not popular. But she was allowed to speak at white women's suffrage kind of groups, which of course was fighting for the vote. Because you know, as a brother, other people were kind of upset with y'all because our men was able to vote and certain other people were not. And so the suffrage movement was really about white women getting the vote because they was really upset with y'all. Okay? I'm just telling y'all the truth. Y'all ain't gonna hear this in school. But the point being, Sojourner Truth was a very spirited person, spiritual person. And so she would speak out against different types of atrocities, and people would listen to her. And so she became very much involved in what was known then as the women's suffrage movement. But she made it very clear that as a black woman, her place was not really recognized or accepted, even though people were talking about justice and all of that. So her name, Sojourner Truth, which represents traveling and telling the truth in that regard. And this is what she did. So she did a lot of traveling, she did a lot of speaking. But again, the history of her has not really been told the way that it needs to be now. And so very soon you're going to see the 25 Sister Saints in a coloring book for children. That's one of our first educational pieces that we're working on. Because our position is we have to start educating our children ourselves. So with that said, Sojourner Truth, she was an abolitionist par excellence. She was a freedom fighter in such a way that she stood on her own. Her picture, let me see if her picture, yep. This is her picture here. That is Sojourner Truth. Okay, and so I guess we're ready for Dr. Tarik. Dr. Tarik, are you ready for us?
Peace and Hotep family.
Right. So if we can get a response by Dr. Tarik, if you are ready, just put your hand up. We can just put your reaction as the wave hand. We're going to introduce you briefly. I do want to turn back over to our illustrious drummers, Tyehimba. And I just want to give a brief ability to give a brief introduction, all right, of the band and the members and of the instruments you all are playing and how folks can get in contact with you as far as booking you for any events to be able to support and donate, so on and so forth. Is there a representative that would like to come forth? All right, good, thanks, Baba. You can just introduce the band, introduce the drummers, let them know what instruments they're playing and how they can get in contact with you and further support.
Thank you for the hotel. Yeah, we are Tyehimba, African Drum Ensemble. To the far left, you have Jelani Ghana, one of my very first students. We have Kamua, recent student, and he has his own ensemble, Urban Shaman, thank you. And also Brother Ogun came in. You can reach me 267-322-0430.
Say that number one more time for us, Bob.
267-322-0430. For my email address, amillionblackmen@yahoo.com. amillionblackmen@yahoo.com. Thank you.
All right, all right. If you could just give us one more rhythm as we transition, just a quick rhythm to get a taste of Tyehimba. that's what I'm talking about. That's what I was looking for. Okay, that's the turn up right there. Okay, so our folks, we are the inventors of the turn up. Now, when we say turn up, we ain't talking about acting crazy, drinking, crashing out. We're talking about turning up our spiritual vibration. All right, give thanks to Tyehimba once again. All right. And with that being said, now we can. Yeah, you want to say something, good brother? What you want to say?
Hey, what's your name? What's your name? What's your name?
Guys, thank you for the dope, you guys. I appreciate it.
Montez.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, good brother Montez. I appreciate you joining us today. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us in the dance ensemble. Oh, today is your show return? So today is your born day? It is working. It's just not very loud, and you gotta be speaking right into it though. But happy born day to you. All right, thank you very much. One more time. What you want to say, good brother? All right, good day. All right, it's his young man's born day. All right, so we want to celebrate his morning. How old is this man? How old are you? 5? All right. Well, five spins around the earth and to many more. All right, good thanks, good brother. Good thanks for joining us. All right. Happy born day. All right. Now, with that being said, I think you got the energy up there, you got the vibes up. All right. We elevated right now. I think we could probably bring in Dr. Tarik Richardson. All right, let me just get the mic together for you. Give me 1 second. All right. And Dr. Tarik, if you could just introduce yourself one more time. All right. And then you can get into your introduction. Your presentation, excuse me. Dr. Tarik.
All right, Hotep family. So my name is Dr. Tarik Richardson.
Are you muted? I don't know. We can't hear you. You might be muted.
No, I'm not muted. I'm talking.
Let me see. Hold on 1 second.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. I think the sound just went out.
Just give us a mic check.
Hold on. The sound went out. Hold on a second.
All right.
Yeah, it is, but it's not.
All right, can you say something, Dr. Tarik?
Yeah, go.
Okay, we still having audio issues. Maybe if I take over as host. Oh, I know why. Okay, go ahead, say it again, good brother.
Yeah, go.
Okay. All right. Give me a mic check.
Oh man. Mm-hmm. Oh man.
You all
It's all white. Mhm. Are you all hearing me now? Okay, you can hear me. All right. So I'll begin. Hotep, welcome family. I want to commend you all for your patience and for your commitment to ourselves, to the celebration of our culture, and to the celebration of, especially at the very beginning of this program, the celebration of those of us who have transitioned from this life, hopefully to the next. I also want to celebrate the work that's being done to recognize our sisters and our mother ancestors. We talked about Sojourner Truth briefly. One thing that we don't oftentimes recognize about her is her role during the Civil War. We talk about work during the abolition movement, maybe her speech anti-woman, but she was also instrumental, along with Frederick Douglass, in having created the first regiment of what they called USCT, the United States Colored Troops. That's the 54th Massachusetts Regiment. So she was instrumental in having Black people play a role in the emancipation of our own bodies. So what I want to talk about today, I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Tarik Richardson. I graduated with my PhD in Africology from Temple University. I've spent the last few years living in Philly. I just actually moved away from Philly. I live in New Orleans, Louisiana now. I teach at an HBCU, um, Xavier University of Louisiana. I teach African American and diaspora studies there. That's at least the name that they call it. I teach Intro to African American History and Culture, as well as a class on Pan-Africanism. And this upcoming term, I'm teaching a class on transatlantic Blackness, right? Looking at African ethics, African identities, and what does that mean for African culture, transcontinentally. So I want to thank you all for allowing me to come and speak with you all as a closer. And I've done a couple of these talks already this year, talking about different principles of Kwanzaa. And really, I've been having kind of the same reflection on all these principles, looking at these principles as really pathways to power. I think the reason why I've been so focused on this idea of power, at Xavier University, I had a final exam for my students, and there's a question I asked them. There was a three-tiered question, asked them to reflect on all the history that we've studied. And the question was, in the context of this class, or in the context of Black history, what is power? What is Black power? And how can we empower the disempowered, right? Their answers to the last two questions were pretty spot on, right? We can empower the disempowered through giving people agency, giving people a voice, right? By investing in ourselves. Right? Black power is doing that, right? Investing in ourselves, empowering each other, trying to build institutions in our community. But many of my students, maybe about half, or maybe that's a little too many, a third of my students had a very difficult time dealing with this question of what is power, right? To many of these students, well, for many of them, they went to Google to find the answer, right? They Googled, okay, what is power, right? If you go to Google, Google tells you that power is the ability to influence and to control others, right? And they try to justify it in their essays. They say, well, according to the class, that's what power means. And obviously they lost points because according to the class, if you study Black history, power isn't the ability to control others, right? That to me, that sounds like white power, right? White power is trying to control other people's lives. And so when you're looking at Kwanzaa, right, as a holiday, Kwanzaa emerges during the really emerges actually during the civil rights movement. It starts in 1966. That's 2 years before Martin Luther King Jr. is assassinated, right? Black Power movement, civil rights movement, to me, they're really one and the same, right? It's the same movement. We're fighting for the same thing to empower the Black community through different means, right? And so when you're looking at this, right, these principles that Maulana Karenga creates in 1966, he draws upon African philosophy, African culture, African history. He's looking at these principles as ways that we can empower ourselves, right? And so we're looking at as these principles are not just ethics, but these are solutions of how we can start to access power for ourselves. So we're looking at creativity, right? For this is the penultimate day. There is usually a proverb that goes along with this principle, right? The principle's proverb reads as follows: to always do as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. All right. When you're looking at this, it differs a bit from the way that we think about creativity, right? When we think of creativity, we think about rhythm, we think about jazz, we think about hip hop, we think about soul, blues, funk, whatever other kind of musical expressions we might have, right? That is part of the creative process, right? Music, art, dance. These things, this rhythm that emerges from us is something that's innate within the African personality, right? What makes up an African person, what makes up our culture, our identity, and what something that brings us all together, right? I saw, even though I'm halfway across the country, I saw when the drums came out, even the children stood up to dance, even the elders stood up to dance. This is part of who we are. But creativity has another component to it, right? Creativity is not just about art, right? And if you look at African art in general, art is never art for art's sake, right? Where in Europe, for example, they might just paint a pretty picture just to say, hey, I painted this. In African culture, whenever we do anything, it has meaning and purpose behind it. Creativity for our ancestors and for us needs to have a second component other than just being artistic expression. I wrote an article a few years ago, or it might have been last year, so maybe I shouldn't say a few years ago, about the strategic importance of Kwanzaa and the strategic importance of creativity. When we're looking at what our ancestors did, there was no straightforward way to survive the Ma'afa, right? The Ma'afa meaning the great disaster. I'm talking about enslavement and the colonization of our homeland. We had to get creative in the ways that we survived. When women were brought over from West Africa and brought to the Americas, many of them braided into their own hairs seeds and beans, soil, other components of the African continent to bring with them to keep that part of their heritage, their culture, their reality alive with them, right? This is why we still have black eyed peas. This is why we eat maybe a reason why we eat black eyed peas, an African dish, right? We eat that on the new year, right? This is why we still have watermelon. This is why we still have okra as part of our culture. When we look at creativity, it's not just about ways that we could maneuver around it, oppression, but also ways that we can directly approach oppression, right? One example I love to bring up, reflecting on this year in general, and this week that encapsulates really our celebration of the year. We have Christmas, right? The Christian Yuletide celebrations on the 25th, and then the Gregorian New Year on January 1st, right? Both those days are significant days in African liberation. December 25th, when Christians were celebrating the Yuletide, having dinner, cutting the turkey, eating ham, African people were planning rebellion. There are several rebellions that happened on December 25th where African people took advantage of the freedom of that day and took it upon themselves to use the day that they could have been resting and relaxing to fight for their own liberation. Such an African person was Samuel Sharp in Jamaica, who led what they called the Great Baptist Rebellion. Sometimes they call it the Sam Sharp Rebellion, or sometimes they call it the Great Christmas Uprising. On that day, you had thousands of Jamaicans rise up on Christmas. They burned down plantations, right? Same thing happened in America throughout our history. Fast forward to, well, today, of course, is Amy Jaquez's birthday. Day we remember her and the contributions that she, her family, and women in general have given to the Pan-African movement. Tomorrow, right, the last day of Kwanzaa, the first day of the Gregorian New Year, also marks a significant day for African people. January 1st, of course, is the Haitian Independence Day, when African people, for the first time, especially in this hemisphere, fought and won against colonial enslavers and destroyed that institution and created for themselves their own Black Republic that has lasted to a certain level to this day. So I wanted to reflect on these things. Creativity is something that wherever we find ourselves, we need to utilize, right? If I've heard so many great discussions today about things that you all are doing in Philly, and I miss the activism, I miss the spirit that is in Philly, and I want you to remember when we're going out to keep that passion, to keep that creativity. And we're talking about saints, right? Sojourner Truth becoming a saint, or IDB Wells. We're talking about all these sister saints. I love it. I work at a university that it's actually the only Black Catholic university in the country. I believe it might be the only one in the world, only one that was created by a saint. Of course, this saint is not an African woman, right? She is actually quite the opposite. She's a European woman. It's my university was created by St. Catherine Drexel. If you're from Philadelphia, you know about Drexel University, right? It's the same family. She created this university. Around our university, we have all these different murals. They're good about trying to preserve at least the Black culture within the celebration of, at least this Catholic institution. But they have a lot of these Black saints around, right? So they have Haitian saints, they have old African saints and African uh, individuals that are represented in the Bible, but that's not our culture necessarily, right? That's not our tradition. We don't have agency over that, right? If we want our space in there, we have to get creative. And I just want to remember that many of our ancestors, many of our distant relatives who were put into these Catholic spaces, found it in themselves to preserve our own traditions through these European ones. Maybe that's we don't need to do that now, but the sacrifices, the creativity of our ancestors has allowed us to have the space to reflect and to move forward in this day and age. What I was referring to before is the preservation of the Loas, the Orishas, right? African spiritual entities. You can find these in the Lukumi tradition. So that's the Yoruba tradition that you can find here in America and then in Cuba. You can find it in the Santeria tradition, the Candomblé tradition, that's in Brazil, and so many other traditions. And so I wanted to leave you all with remembering the sacrifices that our ancestors had to make so that we could be here today, as well as a call to action. Or I guess I don't need to do a call to action to my Philly folks, but a call to action for those around us, that the struggle is not over, and we still need to be creative in the ways that we approach our own liberation. One other component to creativity I want to talk about is, or really, is really the antithesis of creativity, right? So if creative is being active, is being passionate, the antithesis, the opposite of that is laziness, right? Is intellectual laziness. So instead of finding ways to adapt, to survive, and to preserve what we are, is finding room within what other people are doing and being satisfied with that. So if we are finding ourselves, and we can't escape it, we lived in an internal colony. This is not a nation that we control. This is not a nation that we could say we created with our hands, but we never had agency over this nation. So when we find ourselves a part of something that we have no control over, we need to remember who we are instead of just going along to get along, right? And that's going to take some creativity. That's going to take some self-determination, and reflecting on tomorrow, it's going to take some faith. So I want to thank you all for inviting me. It was so good to see you all there. I wish I was there in Philadelphia with you all. I wish you all a happy Gregorian New Year, happy Kwanzaa, and I hope eventually I'll be able to see you all in the future. Shem Hotep.
You will see Dr. Tarik, because we're bringing him to Phila to speak next year. So definitely you will be with us.
All right, give thanks. And Dr. Tarik, if you could, just let everyone know how they can get in contact with you, to get any further insights from you, so on and so forth.
You can find my work on a website called academia.edu. You can search in with my name, Tarik Richardson. You'll find all my articles. I think I might have a few lectures up on there. You should also be able to message me there as well. If not, I'll put my email in the chat. I'm open to talking with anybody. And if anyone is doing research, I am also the incumbent research chair for the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization in the Mid-Atlantic region, which includes Philadelphia. So if anyone's doing research, especially on anything involving African philosophy or culture, feel free to shoot me an email. I can maybe point you in the right direction, maybe give you some resources to look at.
All right, give thanks, much appreciated. All right, can everybody give a warm round of applause for Dr. Tarik. All right, with that being said, I just wanted to open up very briefly for any questions or comments that anyone might have for Dr. Tarik. Any questions or comments? Yes. We have a question from the live audience. Yes, if you could just introduce yourself, sis, let everyone know, where you're from, any group community or organization you might be representing, and then give time some ability to share.
Hi, Dr. Tarik. My name is Kimberly Knapp, and I represent a lot of organizations, but right now we talk about the Periscale Haitian Sanctuary and the National African Religious Congress, which I'm a member of. You spoke a lot about Haiti, and I greatly appreciate that. I've been a practitioner of the voodoo for over 40 years and preservationist of the culture. When you speak of the Loam and the Risha, that is very important. In our homophobe, we lost our Romambo Angela, and nobody on the Zolo, who taught us all the culture and paved the way for this. And when you spoke of that, it brought back strong memories, because we all know that Haiti fought for independence and still are fighting for independence today, as well as many other nations in African-based religions throughout the diaspora. And I greatly appreciate you. I will be sending you information on National African Religion Congress, so you can reach out to our lead priest, Grove Pungan attending Rangan and Pungan School. Thank you so much. And of
Thank
course,
you.
Spanish and care for the Labran Ashanti, which is give praise to Loa Arisha.
Ashe. Thank
I
you.
say, I say, I say. All right, good thanks, good thanks. All right, with that being said, I'm open the floor once again if there's any questions or comments. And let me say before that, I'm also, glad that the good doctor mentioned our brothers and sisters in also want to bring up the silent genocide as they call it in the Congo. Okay, there's a lot of attention that's being leveraged for Ukraine. There's a lot of attention that's being leveraged for Palestine. But I don't see the same energy as it pertains to Haiti, Congo, and these other African nations that have been under genocidal attack for decades, if not centuries. All right, so I just want to acknowledge that factor, give some love and appreciation to our good brothers over there, and to ask that people also show that type of fervor for our nations as they do for Ukraine and Palestine. All right, give thanks. With that being said, I want to open up the floor once again if there's any other questions or comments. All right, if there are no further questions or comments, I want to ask if Dr. Tarik, if you want to give any closing remarks. Closing remarks.
In my closing remarks, one of the things that I wasn't expecting to see that I'm so glad I did see in the front row, we have these young ones, these children. Um, remember, the principle that's unspoken within the days of Kwanzaa, which is the principle of Sankofa, right? To reach back to our young ones, reach back to the ones who aren't here. I know Philadelphia, there's millions of us, right? There's 2 million people there. Not all those folks are Black folks, but many of them are. And of course, there's not 1 million people in this room right now. So be sure to bring back the principles that we are celebrating, that we are contemplating here today, back into our community, back into our families who might not have the patience to be able to sit down for a meeting, sit down for an event, or maybe who don't have the time because they're working, right? So we need to be sure to practice these principles, right? 7+1, if you include Sankofa, to the rest of the community, to our families. I said 7+1, it really should be 7+2 because you got the principle of Sankofa, but you also have the principle of Hashima, right? Which is respect. So, much respect to you, much respect to our elders, and much respect to our ancestors, and much respect to the Most High. Thank you.
All right, give thanks.
Thank you once again, Dr. Tarik. Thank you all who were able to join us through our Zoom, through our Facebook Live, and also live here in direct at the Nile Café, 6008 Germantown Avenue. With that being said, I'm going to pass it on to host with this evening, Dr. Courageous Nation and the Shade.
All right, family. Thank you all again for a great day, and also a launching for some things that's going to happen here in Philly now. Please pass the word. We are rebuilding our community here, and we know it's like really hard to do, but remember what our ancestors went through and experienced. So whatever we're talking about that might be difficult or is difficult, just keep in mind what they went through and experienced. And for the record, because I wish Brother Westcott was still here, if you look at the flyer and the emails that were sent out, it said, bring your own instrument. Everyone was invited
O-I. Bring your own instrument. So, for the record, everyone was invited and also asked to participate in the jam community piece of it. So, see, we do the right thing as best as we can. So, for the record, Asante Sana, I got y'all's backs. Trust me. Lastly, but not so much, this is the building at 52nd off of Lansdowne Avenue. We want it. We deserve it. And not because we are beggars or anything like that. Reparations is due. And it comes in a greater form than just a check. We have buildings in our communities that the groups and organizations, a cultural center. Who's teaching drumming in our community? And the other instruments. We need that in our community. These children need some other things that's not run by the government. This is the building, y'all. We want it for the Harriet Tubman Justice and Humanity Center and Library. If they could spend all this money with people coming into the United States that ain't did nothing here. They finding money in Chicago, New York, housing them, I'm not speaking ill about anybody, but I gotta speak up for us. The city and the state has properties. We need a school for our children. Our school, not the city of Philadelphia. So this is a start. Building is at 52nd, right off of 52nd, off of Lansdowne where Lancaster crosses. The building's been vacant for 2 decades. We want it, y'all. Help us get this building, okay? All right, one last thing, and then we're gonna hear some poetry, and then we're gonna close out. For those who are familiar with the United Nations, every year the United Nations holds something called the CSW, the Commission on the Status of Women. The National Million Woman March has begun organizing the Commission on the Status of African Women, so that we could be represented at the United Nations. I've been doing things at the United Nations for 10 years, by the way. So, but the masses of our people are not given any information about any of this for the most part. So what we're doing in our community is making sure that you all know. Do you know that next year ends the International Decade for African People? Next year, 2014, ends the International Decade for African People. Do you have any idea of the connections and possible resources that we could have gotten in our community? So, in March of 2024, sisters will be meeting at the United Nations to do what we call African Women in White. We will meet and greet sisters coming in from the continent, because during the month of March, many sisters come in from all over the diaspora. We plan to meet with them, parlay with them, get to know them and them us, but also hold hands with them around the United Nations and across the world. March of 2024. We can't give you a date yet because we're still going through clearance with the United Nations. And as you might can imagine, you can't even go around there without a certain type of clearance. So we're waiting for the actual date for March. But the idea is for thousands of black women, African women, to hold hands together in white for justice, equity, power, prosperity, and peace. Now, y'all, imagine that. Imagine that going out into the world, that energy and that whole thing. So, again, you'll be getting more information about that. With that said, our sisters are rising up. So we're going to have a sister who just joined us, who's going to share some poetry with us. Sister Sunshine, did you want to introduce our sister? Because Okay, well, very good. So can the lioness give me her name? And by the way, that's one of the societies we're getting ready to start. It's called the Checkmate Society. The lioness. Because we need self-defense. And so Checkmate will help us get that. Okay. Yes. Okay, but we're going to need you all. Can we grab our children here?
Yes, all of my children.
Okay.
All right, can you?
Okay.
Salima, sit down, okay? Sit down. Asima. Peace, family. I am Vanessa Allen, poet, mother, author. And I have a piece for you tonight. This is my son, Jeremiah. Might as well introduce him because he up here. All right, here we go. Can everybody hear me? I go. I go. Can everybody hear me in the back? Yes? All right. You can hear me, clap once. I like that. I got that from Sister Sunshine, Mama Sunshine. All right, here it is. From the dirt of the earth, the first fruits are the grassroots of our heritage. This is the season to bond and be replenished, speaking proverbs as finished. It is reflection on the colors of red, black, and green. The red for the sacrifice, for love, for the blood. The black for the people, the green for the future, for the hope to overcome the things that we were born to get used to. 7 principles unify, uplift, and commit to the gift of art, the art of loving and learning. It's the lighting of the candles. Do you know the 7 principles of Kwanzaa? Let's see, review with me. Principle number 1, umoja, unity. It is a unity between you and me and those who share our color, who share our essence, and their mothers have birthed many nations. Love your neighbor as you love yourself, and love yourself as the Creator loves you. Principle number 2, kuji jacolia, the self-determination. The self-determination to determine who we are, whose we are, what we do, what we be called, and what we answer to. Principle number 3, ujima, collective work and responsibility, the response to our ability as men and women, boys and girls, as we come together to solve problems, to weather the storm. We don't just commune where we live. We are a community. Principle number 4, ujama, cooperative economics. It's the release from the bondage to work a job 9 to 5 where one could care less. We are walking images of entrepreneurial success. We were born and created with a wealthy mentality. Principle number 5, nia, purpose. We all have a purpose. We all have something the Most High created us to do. Mine is for me, and yours is for you. Just know that there was no other person created to do what was meant for you. Principle number 6, KUUMBA, creativity. It is ultimately the principle that helps our finances to stick, for our gifts equip us, and our gifts will make room so that we are not stuck in positions unfit, or a king or a queen or a prince or a princess. As I said, our gifts is what equips us. Principle number 7, imani, Though it is last on the list, it is first in our hearts. And we can blow a kiss to our ancestors as we look back to the black, to the people. Though it is after the bread, the sacrifice, and the struggle, we can know and trust that the grass is greener on the other side. Do you believe? What if we all believed and lived life accordingly? I believe with all my heart we can overcome and achieve victoriously as we give ourselves as an offering of the first fruits, grown deeper than the grassroots. We can be the light that people can attach to be relieved from the seeds sown from the bad fruits. We are the living, breathing essence of the first fruits, and the apple never falls too far from the tree. Happy Kwanzaa, everybody. Happy New Year. I can be found and followed on Instagram, social media at I am Vanessa Allen. That's the letter I am Vanessa, VANESSA, Allen, ALLEN. Thank you.
All right, we getting ready to close this program out. Thank you once again. Thank you for joining us. If you're joining us virtually, if you're joining us live, thank you once again. Thank you for your time, energy, and effort, dedication, discipline, and determination. Give thanks once again to Tyehimba. All right, warm round of applause and keep the energy going. Keep the energy going. Keep the energy flowing. All right, let's give thanks to our host. All right, Sister Empress Phila. All right, also let's give a round of applause for the Nile Café. All right, where are we at right now currently? Let's show a little bit of love, give a round of applause, show some support. Thank you for being here all. All right, final announcements.
All right, final announcements. This is the National Black Unity newspaper. It will be featured in Philly, where we will be featuring black businesses. So simply NEFA, Nile Café, and others, Mama Kim here. We will be featuring Sister Dottie in the upcoming National Black Unity newspaper. Now, as you can see, this is a physical newspaper, but it's also online. And we've been offered our own pages until we get our own paper, which is what we're also working on. Mumia Abu Jamal has agreed to be one of our instructors as a part of the Mumia Abu Jamal School of Journalism. So those who are interested in being writers, reporters, investigators, or you just want to write a little bit, Mumia is your man. And so he has agreed to work with us to bring forward literary fineness in our community via correspondence through mail, and of course he can do tapings. And so that's the way we're going to also support him, by keeping the fight for him to get freed. So again, for those who are interested in helping us to be writers, you can just sign up with us to let us know. I think we got one more presentation. I do see Mama Basima, and I'm sorry I didn't see her in queue before. She's going to close us out with a tribute to Amy Jocks Garvey, because Mama Basima is the Black Cross Nurses, the UNIA, ACL. Mama Basima, are you ready to close us out?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
All right, we have a few minutes left in the program. All right, Mama Basima, are you ready?
Yes, I am, Brother Imhotep. Baragani family. Unfortunately, I've been in and I've been out. There were some serious train issues as it pertained to the regional rails of Amtrak throughout the nation. I'm getting a lot of echo feedback, but that's all right. My name is Basima Muhammad Bey. and I am a representative of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Community Leagues, which is the African wing of our Black Power movement, which we call the UNIA. You all know Marcus Garvey movement, UNIA ACL. We are here in the Philadelphia area, 1609 Cecil B. Moore Avenue. Um, at this time, we are renovating that international headquarters. Empress Filet, I just want to stop before I say anything else and ask everybody just take a moment and look back through the year. Let's give Empress Filet her kudos, brothers and sisters, as she continued to raise up the awareness of African women and their issues worldwide, as she began to uh, deal with the African issues that are facing us worldwide. Um, so I say that in a sense of sisterhood and Black power, as Mama Pele extends herself to this 25th, 26th year anniversary as we working towards. Um, when you asked me to close out, I'm not sure where you all were at. I just came in, but I will give my last comment and statement, which is please, you all, our international headquarters is here in the city of Philadelphia, and we're asking you all to make sure that you stop by and share your contributions, make some contributions to our international headquarters as we are revising that facility there, there at 1609 Cecil B. Moore Avenue in Philadelphia. It's very important. We're looking forward to this year. Some of the events of the Million Women March will be held at 1609 Cecil B. Moore Avenue. We are doing great work at this point to revise the building, and we certainly need your in-kind love and support. And with that, the Black Cross Nurses is always accessible and always at your service, community. We are worldwide. We're faced with some issues that we are not really looking at right now. But as the Black Cross Nurses, it's our duty to keep us alarmed that we are at war and our medical concerns are very serious and our ailments are very serious and condensed to Black people's issues. So I just want to say that there, Brother Hotep, we kudos to you, brother, for really standing by on me and really doing the work that's necessary for the nation to rise. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, I would like to say to you all, thank you, and stay up with the work. Continue to support the Million Women March as we extend ourselves to rise, to rise, to rise, and you will see the work as you continue to support what the sisters are doing worldwide. So race first, Black power. Don't let it get quiet in the house because y'all gonna have to come back on and tell me okay. So this March we'll be having our international um, prep preparations for our convention. We'll have our ATC here in the city of Philadelphia in March. Please stay tuned for that. Please come out and join us during the community sessions. Please join UNIA, join the Black movement, join us at the Million Women's March, join us as we begin to raise our people up. Um, so I want to turn the mic back over at this point. Hotep, Hotep, I say. Also, I would like to say that please get your Scoop magazine, your Scoop newspaper. Mama Laverne is highlighted in the Scoop magazine, Scoop newspaper. Excuse me, brothers and sisters. Here in Philadelphia is a Black newspaper that goes out in the Black community. So Mama Laverne McNear has been highlighted as the Black flag maker for the nation. Brother Kabir Hadas is a writer for Scoop, as well as a member, as well as our archivist for UNIAACL. So please pick up your your last Scoops issue and read more about the work of Mama Laverne McNear, one of our oldest long-term vendors here in the city of Philadelphia. So we'd like to say Ashe. Mama Filet, are you still with us? I see some activity there. I would like to chime in, Brother Lumumba. Bring me back in, brother. in the chat room. You're chatting as a guest message sent here. Okay. I'm going to send a message in the chat room and saying race first. And I'm closing out on that again. Race first. If we don't take care of ourselves and look out for ourselves, race first, then we cannot help and look out for anybody else. I want to say that to you again. If we can't look I don't know if I'm being heard. I don't like to keep an absence in the Free Mumia, yes, yes, Mama Dorothy. We will never forget the liberation of our freedom fighters. Some of them right now, as we speak about them, are actually making transition or ready to make transition. So we must hold them up. We say free Mumia, we say free Mumia Bujamal, we say free Iman Jamil Alameen, we say free them all, brothers and sisters, free them all. That's the call, free them all. Free them all. One God, one aim, one destiny. Race first.